literally just doing a parked. Mad thing.
If I'm paying for it, and we were the first to get the idea, it's there. Why would you not call yourself Jewish?
I'll go.
So that's a good question. It deserves an honest answer. What is it to be a Christian? The term Christian was first coined in Antioch by Roman pagans as an insult to the followers of Christ, who at that time simply called themselves followers of the way. That's an ancient name for ourselves. Yeah? Those that know church history know that. The followers of the way were accused by Roman pagans as being Christians, which is an insult. It means little Christ. Little Christ. We Christians then took this insult and turned it into a compliment by taking the name for ourselves with pride and courage. And so we became known as Christians, and we called ourselves Christians. If you just bear with us 1 second, brother. So it's within that context. It's within that context that Christians call themselves Christians, because we're trying to follow Christ. Christ says only make disciples of all the nations. So I can just as easily call myself a disciple of Christ. I even have to use the word Christian. But I have no problem with the word Christian.
So who would you say Bethlehem belongs to, the Jews or the Christians?
Say again?
Who in your mind, who does Bethlehem belong to, the Jews or the Christians?
That's a political question, and I would say that in terms of Bethlehem, I would stake the claim for the Christians to have Bethlehem, Jerusalem, Antioch, Damascus. Like all of those lands were originally Christian. All of North Africa was originally Christian. Those are our lands. They've been stolen from us through violent conquest and persecution. And, it's like Constantinople. This is a Christian city. Great Asia Minor, Christian city, Greater Armenia, all originally Christian. These are all lands that have been stolen from the Christians. And I feel we have a legitimate stake to all of them.
So who stole them?
Muslims. Muslims did. You stole them. Now let me ask you this question. If Christians stole Muslim lands, would you want it back?
Of course.
Right. So have we got any problem with us demanding North Africa, Asia Minor, the Levant back to us?
No.
Yeah. Let me ask you this question. If the evidence contradicts your belief, isn't it incumbent upon you as a searcher for truth? Because for me personally, bro, I want to be where the truth is.
Yeah.
I don't want to make my own truth.
Yeah.
I want to stand in what the truth is.
Yeah.
And if all the evidence points towards the truth, then that's where I want to be. Now, your beliefs contradict all the evidence. It's incumbent upon you, if you're genuinely seeking to stand in the truth, to change your beliefs to where the evidence leads you. And the evidence leads you outside of Islam. Seriously. Yeah? I'll give you another example. So I'll give you Josephus. Sertorius was writing between 69 and 140 AD in his book, The Life of the Caesars. And he was writing about Claudius and Nero. Okay? These were Caesars around the time of Christ and just after Christ. And in his book, he mentions that Christ was a cause of trouble and the center of a new superstition. Now notice the derogatory language that he's referring to Christians by, this new superstition. He's not a believer. But he's saying that Christ is the founder of a new superstition. Now, when he's writing 69 to 140 AD, if you look back into the annals of history and look for evidence of which community he's referring to, we find zero evidence. Zip, nada, nothing of an early Islamic community. Nothing. But we do find the writings of the Church Fathers. We find the writings of the Church Fathers who are my historical heritage, my historical forefathers, who teach the doctrines I teach. So when he talks about this new superstition, who's he talking about? The evidence points towards he's talking about us, not you. So that means that this Christ, who is the center of a new superstition, is not a Muslim prophet, but a Christian Messiah.
One last question, brother. Who do you think Israel belongs to?
Israel. Are we talking about land or are we talking about the people? That belongs to God. Everything belongs to God ultimately.
It belongs to God, but as in like, does it belong to the Jews, or in your mind, or does it, in your opinion, does it belong to the Jews or does it belong to the Muslims?
It belongs to the Christians.
The Christians.
Yeah.
I believe it belongs to the Muslims.
On what basis? You invaded lands that were not your own.
What
You invaded lands that were not your own. If we invade Saudi Arabia and we conquer you, which we could do easily, let's be honest. If America and Britain and France and Germany decided we're going to kick the shit out of Saudi Arabia and occupy the whole land, there is nothing you can do to stop us. We would conquer you within months. Your armies are nothing compared to ours, right? But we don't. But if we did, would you have a legitimate claim to the land?
Sorry, repeat that, sorry?
If we conquered Saudi Arabia, which we could, but we never will, if we did, would you have a legitimate claim to the land?
Yeah,
right. So if you go back in history, 2,000 years ago, Palestine was Christian. That was the main religion. The Jews had been kicked out of Palestine by the Romans in 70 AD, and the religious community that grew up by the 7th century was the Christian community. Muslims invaded Christian land and then proceeded to persecute the Christians. So who has a legitimate claim to that land? By your logic, on Saudi Arabia.
I didn't get that question, sorry.
So you said, logically, if we conquer Saudi Arabia, you would have a legitimate claim to the land. Well, Muslims conquered Palestine.
Right.
It was Christian first. So who has a legitimate claim to the land?
If that's the case, then obviously Christians.
Thank you. So my point to you, bro, my point to you, politics aside, is that you've got to have a sincerity of heart. You've got to have a sincerity of heart about where the truth is, and you've got to pursue that truth wherever it leads you. And I promise you, bro, if you take the time to systematically look at the evidence, that evidence leads you out of Islam, and it leads you to the Christian faith.
Well, definitely, I will definitely have a look into reading the Bible, definitely, to learn, obviously, because I've been meaning to read the Bible as well.
Okay.
So, yeah, definitely.
Can I just want to give you one more evidence. I gave you Josephus, I gave you Sertorius, now I want to give you Tacitus. Now Tacitus is a Roman historian, again, not a Christian. And he was writing in 55 AD to 117 AD. In his book, The Annals, in book 15, he writes, speaking of Christ, that Christ was crucified under Pontius Pilate in the reign of Tiberius, and out of the province of Judea a new religion arose, a new sect called Christians, named after Christ, which is what we started this conversation on. So the historical evidence contradicts one of the central claims of the Quran, that Christ was never crucified, and confirms one of the central claims of the Christian faith, that Christ was crucified. Now, if the Quran is wrong on one thing, according to the Quran, can it be from God? Well, I'll tell you what the Quran says. The Quran says if this were from any other than Allah, they, meaning me, the non-believers, would find many contradictions therein, or many errors therein. Now, I am finding a contradiction in the Quran. It contradicts history. it says Christ was not crucified, which means that I have found an error in the Quran, which means that the Quran is not from Allah. This is the Quranic test, and the Quran has failed its own test, which means that there is now another error, because that means there's a logical inconsistency about the Quran, because it makes a claim about itself that is also not true. So now that's two errors.
But where did you get that information from?
From the Quran.
The Quran.
Yeah, and this information is coming from a study of history. Now, have you ever picked up any of the books of the New Testament? Have you ever read? Can I encourage you to read one? I want to give it to you as a gift. Yeah. The Gospel of Mark is the first gospel that was written. Yeah. It was the first gospel. It is a collection of the sermons of Peter, written by Mark, and it was created in Rome, okay, for Jewish and Gentile believers inside Rome. It's one of the earliest texts, and the point that he's trying to make is that Christ is the fulfillment of the Old Testament prophecies, and that really those Old Testament prophecies point to a suffering servant, not a triumphal king as the Messiah, okay? And as you read it, I want you to consider it.
Definitely, yeah.
Write down your questions, and maybe, like, if you want, we can meet outside of the park and talk.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
Okay. I'll take your number.
Sure.
And then what we'll do is we'll meet outside of the park, and we'll converse. Now, as a rule, I don't give my number to people. So I'll take your number, and then I call you on a withhold number.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah. And what I want to say to you, bro, is have the courage to pursue truth. Be sincere. Yeah? Be sincere. Pursue truth wherever it leads you. And if that leads you outside of Islam, then that's where you've got to go. If it leads me inside of Islam, that's where I have to go. Yeah? So how do you want me to record your name on my phone? Omar.
Yeah.
All right, listen, I gotta go. It's starting to turn up.
What's your number, bro?
Off camera.
Yeah, of course. No phone filming, please.
I just want to listen to
Mad thing. Yo, man, like Bob the Builder, you know, I'm trying to get in them shahadas, you know. Mad thing. Oh, man. Mad. And let me get in on this.
Dark country's knocking off tonight.
Let me eavesdrop. Let me eavesdrop. Let me see what he's talking about.
Får både du i Norge, får kommer du fra i Norge. Drömmen, ni är på sina båtar. Ja,
40 kilometers from Oslo.
ja, damerna är på sina båtar.
I'm talking some next language.
They have their own industry and their own technology.
Yeah, speakers corner got reduced.
How do we establish prayer? How do we pray? We turn to the Sunnah. We turn to our Prophet for the benefit of whole.
To be extremism.
See what one over here. It's
My
like a hat.
point is some ISIS supporter among us. I don't mean you. I don't mean you. I didn't say you.
What about the far right?
Do you understand?
What about the far right? What about the far
So
right?
anyone go
Hundreds
upset.
and thousands of white British men are joining. What is it, DFLA? They're joining DFLA.
I say,
Is there
anyone
something
go
wrong with that?
upset.
How many people joined ISIS?
I know they joined. How many? It's wrong.
How many?
It's wrong. 100,000 young,
Exactly, I agree with that.
because they are a terrorist group.
But do you agree that some people that agree with ISIS?
Because why?
You're talking about those people.
I don't want to talk to lions.
You don't want to talk to me.
Why don't we talk about young white British men joining racist groups again? Young British white men.
My brother, why you want me to talk in the way you want to talk?
No, if
I'm
some-
talking the way I want to talk.
If something is
The way
bad,
I believe it is my subject, my brother.
no, but we are talking about bad people.
So don't shout that.
Why don't you speak Arabic?
Who said that Muslims
That's
are
it.
I think your brain's in your ankle.
Arabic, right? The Prophet is in Arabic. Saudi Arabia is Arabic. Who
said that
Why don't you speak Arabic?
Why are you overweight?
Kuffar language.
Why are you overweight?
Who said that? Because you can't, can you?
That's fine.
Arab religion.
just having.
Bob! Bob the liar! Bob the liar! He wants to have a dialogue with you, please.
I would love to talk with him, but he doesn't want to talk with me. He just wants to heckle me from the sideline.
Of course. And no English, my friend.
No English, my friend. No English, my friend. They're killing innocent people. What about the raping? Is that also wrong? No, so is ISIS wrong for killing innocent people, but okay for raping people?
ISIS are equally the same.
What are you talking about? Are you an ISIS? What are you talking about? What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Leave him alone, bro.
So, what? Tell me, why is ISIS wrong?
Are you ISIS?
Are you ISIS? Are you ISIS?
Why do you ask my ISIS if you're not ISIS?
I'm not ISIS.
I can answer your question. I can answer your question.
Why do you keep asking?
In my own way.
Why do
In
you
my
keep
own way.
asking? Why do you keep asking?
He doesn't want to answer.
You don't want
keep
to.
asking, are you an ISIS?
I'm
I don't
interested in
understand
your
that.
answer. I'm interested.
I will answer your question in my own way, my brother. That's fine.
That's why
I'm Muslim too. Listen, my brother. ISIS was a plan of last 25 years, made by America, Britain, France, and Europe.
Blame everyone.
You don't want fucking to my answer.
I heard your answer. Your answer is that ISIS is the creation of America. So the Muslim community at Speaker's Corner want to blame the USA for ISIS.
No, you should blame yourself.
rather than take
You should blame
responsibility.
yourself for not brushing your teeth.
Responsibility if ISIS are not
Why are you blaming America?
Of course we have
I think he's
responsibility
zooming in
for
them
that
teeth.
as well.
I say brush your
We
teeth.
do have
See,
responsibility.
a load of Americans go and join
But
ISIS.
most of those
Yeah, they did.
responsibility on you as well.
Yeah?
On you.
Did a lot of American patriots.
Oh, you didn't like his answer, did you?
No. I'm engaging with his answer, which is something different from what you're doing.
Because you didn't allow me to finish.
I like his answer.
You said the CIA, you said America.
No, I didn't say the CIA. I haven't finished my answer, but you don't like it.
It's a nonsensical answer
Bob.
by a
Bob, we're not
community
talking about Quran. We're not
that don't want to take responsibility.
Your pants on fire!
I told him this is not
Your
religious.
pants on fire!
Is that a logical argument, bro?
Thank you. But he wants to.
I told him.
But he wants to.
I told him
He
earlier.
didn't like his
So it had
answer.
nothing to do with Islamists forming a network together.
Brother,
in Iraq.
it's a politician conversation. It's nothing to do
Talking
with religion.
politics.
No, we don't.
We're talking politics.
Okay. Who created ISIS?
My brother, you want to
Hey,
talk
my
to
The
brother.
Islamist networks that formed themselves, they broke off, as I understand, from Al
Talk
Qaeda.
to him? You take him over there, please. Talk to
You're
him.
lost, man. You're watching TV.
Why am I
Me
lost?
with him?
Why am I lost? Because I'm not desperately trying to blame everyone else for situations created from within my own community. No, I don't blame all Muslims. I blame Islamists. Let's be clear. I don't blame all Muslims. I'm not blaming you. I'm blaming Islamists. But Islamists are a group of Muslims.
Listen to this, brother.
That's what I
You're
say.
talking over us.
So be clear about what I'm saying.
Just ignore him. My brother.
Why are they not Muslims?
Bye-bye! Bob!
Then, my brother, okay. So let's get here and ask ourselves. Do you want to talk with me about it?
Bob! Bye-bye! Bye-bye! Bob the liar! Bye-bye!
Bob, you can't be taking the cameras away, man.
Talk over here because we'll get heckled otherwise.
Both trying to get shahadas to the
So what I'm trying to explain is that they are not any part of Muslims. Why? I will tell you why. Because in Islam there are certain rules to follow, which are said in Quran and Sunnah. So if I don't follow these rules, he's not a Muslim. If he kill people, he's not a Muslim. Okay, that's what I want. In Christianity, a person who doesn't follow Bible, he's not a Muslim. He's not Christian. That's what I want to explain.
Okay, so let's look at some of the actions. Like, firstly, I agree with you that ISIS don't represent all Muslims.
I don't represent Islam.
This is what we're going to discuss.
Yeah.
But I agree with you definitely that ISIS don't represent all Muslims.
Okay, I want to give you something.
Allow me
I was in Saudi Arabia.
1 second.
Yeah,
Allow
okay.
me to make a point,
Okay, sorry.
and then we'll do an exchange.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, we don't have to talk over one. So I agree with you that ISIS does not represent all Muslims. I'm happy to give virtually every Muslim I meet the benefit of the doubt that they're not supporters of ISIS, though I have met Muslims who are.
Yeah.
Okay, even in this park. Okay? So my question to you is, point to me 3 actions that you would say are not representative of Islam that ISIS do and therefore exclude them from the possibility of being Muslims?
Okay,
Three.
Number one, they are killing people. Number
Okay.
two, in Saudi Arabia, from about 1 year, I was there, and they were bombing mosques. Mosques are the holy places for praying. And, it was proved that ISIS did it. And in Medina, the holy mosque of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, it was like bombed by them. So it's the second thing that we bomb most. Third thing that they kill like innocent people, and they
You've just said
okay, and they follow another way, which
Sorry,
is
you've essentially saying the same thing three different ways.
Yeah.
I'm asking you for three different things that they do. They kill people is one.
Yeah.
They bomb mosques.
Yeah.
Does that mean bombing churches is okay?
No, not okay.
So bombing churches is wrong.
No, bombing mosques to any place for worshipping God in any different
what
way
about
is wrong.
forcibly converting churches into mosques? Is that wrong?
Yeah, it's wrong to
Okay.
convert.
What about, and then you said, what else? What else?
Yeah, their mentality, what they are thinking about to conquer the world and to try fear people, it's not in Quran.
Okay, all of these things are not in the Quran.
Yeah.
Tell me the last time. Tell me the last time you saw an Islamic state, an Islamic society that you would say this is genuinely Islamic.
I don't know Islamic society. I know Islamic Muslims people that I.
Are you a Shia or Sunni?
No, I'm Sunni.
Sunni.
But
Okay.
I want to tell you something. In Quran, there's nothing called Shia or Sunni. There's Quran that you
Okay.
have to follow it, and then you are a Muslim.
That's fine. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's be clear. The caliphate. What was the last caliphate that you would look to and say this was an Islamic caliphate, like the Ottoman Caliphate, the Andalusian Caliphate? The Umayyad Caliphate, the Caliphate set up by Muhammad.
The Ottoman Caliphate, it was, there were...
Was that an Islamic
not
caliphate?
Not all of it.
Okay.
There were some caliphs who were doing
Some
wrong
bad
things.
caliphs,
Yeah.
okay.
And
Okay,
the Caliph
right.
after
You
Muhammad,
said, right, so you've just said, and we all heard you, that the Ottoman Caliphate was whilst it had its failings at different times in history with different caliphates, it was an Islamic caliphate. And you said that the things that ISIS did that exclude them from being Muslim is that they killed people, they destroyed they destroyed mosques, and by extension destroyed churches, and forcibly convert churches, and then the third one we never really picked one out, but let's
No,
find.
I mean their mentality.
What about kidnapping people? ISIS kidnapped people.
Yeah, it's wrong.
Right. So now let's look at the Ottoman Caliphate and ask ourselves if the Ottoman Caliphate did what ISIS did, bearing in mind that you said that the Ottoman Caliphate
Not
was
all
an
of them.
Islamic caliphate.
Not all of them.
Let's just look at what the Ottoman Caliphate did. The Ottoman Caliphate kidnapped Christians and formed an army called the Janissaries that was basically formed out of kidnapped Christian children. The Ottoman Caliphate forcibly destroyed and converted churches, and the Ottoman Caliphate killed people. And the Ottoman Caliphate did this not at one point in its history, but for the entirety of its history. Every single caliph of that caliphate did it.
So could you give me like the years and because I really,
Can I ask you a question on that
give me the
statement?
evidence so I will write it and
So what you need to look up, you can do it all now. Everyone
Can I
can
ask you a
fact
question
check
on
me.
that statement you've made?
One second. Let us finish.
Yeah.
Everyone can fact check me right this second. Pull out your phones, use your 4G, and go and type in the word Janissary and see what comes up.
How do you spell that one?
Janissary. Janissary. Janissary.
Go on, bro.
Okay? Janissaries were kidnapped Christian children, forcibly converted to Islam, and sent back to kill their own families.
Can I just ask you, you know you're making this statement that they done this, right, yeah, in the Ottoman Caliphate or whatever. Did they go and just enforce this on normal civilian people?
Yes.
Just as they went to anyone's house and said, oh, do you know what? Because you're not Muslim, we're going to kill you.
No, what they
or-
did is, what they
So
did...
they done it under war
No,
or under defense
let
or
me
something?
finish,
Because
let
what
me-
you're saying is like we went round.
Something tells me you've not read the history, have you?
I
You
haven't.
didn't even know
I
the word
haven't, but the
Janissary
thing is,
before I told you.
What I'm trying to say to you is that...
So you're trying to lecture me about something
Are
you
gonna
don't
let me
even know
talk?
about.
I'm not going to lecture you. I'm not going to lecture. I'm saying you're coming here to lecture people about old history, right?
Right.
Is it old or is it
So
current?
what is your argument?
Is it current right now?
Am I right?
Hold on.
So
Hold
can
on.
we-
Why are
can
you
we-
going off
Am I right?
Yeah, they began as an elite corps of slaves made up of kidnapped young Christian boys who were converted to Islam and became famed for internal cohesion, cemented by strict discipline and order.
Thank you.
Okay,
That's the Janissaries. That is the Ottoman Empire.
I will tell you. If they did that,
So what? Hold on. So now my question to you is this:
They were an empire.
and they did this
in,
all the
Europe.
way through the period of the
they
Ottoman
are not
Empire.
following the right way of the
Oh, they're not following it. So now, listen. So point to me an example of a caliphate that you do believe in.
Umar ibn al-Khattab, Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon
Right,
him.
the caliphate of Muhammad.
Muhammad, yeah,
Right.
Umar
So-
ibn al-Khattab, Uthman ibn Affan, all of these from Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, till Uthman ibn Affan.
Okay, so let's look at Muhammad's example. Bearing in mind, Muhammad's caliphate collapsed. It failed. So it means the great system of Islam is a failure. Yeah? It did fail. Where is the caliphate now? The one set up by Muhammad?
It was changed after
It's a perfect system, right?
Yeah, it was changed after there was problem between the Bani Umayyah and Abbasids.
Yeah. So when what happened? Look, when Muhammad was dying, was that he excluded all Jews and Christians from the Arabian Peninsula. Yes. Do you know about the Christian colony in Najaf?
No, I will tell you why.
Do you know about the
Who
Christian
he
colony in Najaf?
excluded were in Ghazwat al-Ahzab war, the Jews were in Medina with Prophet Muhammad, and
They were all over the Arabian Peninsula, not just in
I'm
Medina.
talking about the Jews who were in Medina.
No, I'm talking about towards Muhammad's death, he excluded Jews from the entirety of his caliphate, which was the United Arabian Peninsula, and he also excluded Christians in Najaf.
No, the neighbor of Prophet Muhammad was a Jew. Do you know that?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
And that you know, you can point to an example in his life, yeah, right? And you can say,
No, I'm not saying I will continue.
but
I'll tell you.
it's about what he commanded at the end of his life.
I will tell you.
Can anyone fact check me, please?
On what?
Fact check me about whether Muhammad commanded that the Jews and the Christians should be excluded from the Arabian Peninsula.
Yeah, he made.
But the Janissaries is that how does it relate to Islam?
Yeah, how does it relate to Islam?
Right, thank you. So the point is, before you jumped in, bro,
Yeah, bro.
is that I asked this bro,
Yeah, bro.
yeah, I asked this bro to tell me which caliphate he believed was a genuine Islamic one, because we were discussing ISIS. And we were saying why ISIS aren't really Muslim.
They're not.
Right. And I
They're not.
accept
I'll
that
say it again.
ISIS don't represent most Muslims. I get that. I get that.
Islam.
But then when I
You have
asked
the
you,
Quran.
hold on one
No,
second.
no, yeah.
But then when I asked you to tell me a caliphate that you did think represented Islam, you said the Ottoman
I
Caliphate.
told you
And then I
all of
pointed
them.
out that the Ottoman Caliphate were doing the things
I didn't
that
tell
the
you.
ISIS Caliphate were doing. So why is one Islamic and not the
Ottoman
other?
Caliphate built the churches in Egypt at the end of the Ottoman Caliphate. So not all of the Caliphate, not all of the Caliphs at that time were right. No one, it cannot be.
Shall I tell
That's
you?
why it fall down.
Do you know about the Pact
But-
of Umar?
No.
Right.
Yeah.
Shall I tell you?
No, one thing I want to
Oh, yeah, of
explain
course,
to
go
you. I'm saying why ISIS are not in Islam, because you cannot prove from the Quran
Yeah, that was the
it's
basis of the
saying
conversation
kill
was,
people.
how
It
is
can-
ISIS
Quran doesn't
anything
say
to do with Islam?
like destroy churches. Quran doesn't say like to terrify people and being terrorists.
What about raping people?
It doesn't say
It
to
doesn't
rape
say
people.
that. I have my
Okay.
Quran with me.
Okay, right.
It
let's
doesn't say
look at
to
that.
rape people.
Yeah, we'll look at that. We'll look at that. Okay, in Surah
I really want to
4,
know where it says by the word of God, Allah to rape people,
Okay.
because
Yeah,
I haven't seen that
right,
in any way.
Say the place
Right.
of
So
ayah.
the question is, where does the Quran permit rape? Now, before I begin, I want to say that in my experience, most Muslims have a better conscience than they do a deen. Their conscience contradicts their deen, and they follow their conscience, not their deen. Thankfully, okay. But let's just think about what this verse is saying. Okay.
Which verses?
Yeah,
I'm going
Bobby's
to.
attacking
I'm
today.
going to give
One
it.
second, one second.
I am
It's people
going
like
to
you
give
that
it.
cause problems in the current
I
day,
am
you
going
know
to
that.
give it. I am going to give it. Okay, so you know that every verse of the Quran was revealed in a situation. Yeah? Every ayah of the Quran was revealed in a situation, in a circumstance. So I'm going to talk about the circumstance first that are in the hadith, and then we're going to go to the verse.
Give me the verse.
Yeah, the verse is Surah 4, verse 24. Okay? The situation in which this ayah was revealed was this one. Are you listening? The Apostle of Allah sent a military expedition to Atwaz on the occasion of the Battle of Hunayn. They met their enemy and fought with them.
In a battle,
They
right?
defeated them and took
Alright.
them captives.
In a battle,
some
right?
of the companions of the Apostle of Allah were reluctant, are you all listening? Were reluctant to have intercourse with the female captives in the presence of their husbands.
So is it said
who
in the
were
Quran?
unbelievers.
Is that what it says in the Quran?
So Allah the Exalted sent down the Quranic verse, Surah 4:24,
What is the name of
which
the surah?
reads,
What's the name of
the
the
woman,
Yeah.
which
woman.
reads,
Wait, what verse is that?
also prohibited are women already married, listen, except, did you all hear that word? Already married, except, that means with an exception to the following category. Those whom your right hands possess.
So at the time of them,
As
they were
in,
slaves at that
if
time,
I
right?
own you as a female captive, I can have sex with you regardless of whether you are married or not married.
Well, to the right.
How
Okay,
is
hold
that
on,
not
hold on,
rape?
hold on. To the right hand meant to someone who has ownership over a slave. And to be a slave, then in Islam, you have to agree to. Someone is not going to just take you and say you're my slave. They're not.
Well, you agree to slavery?
No,
No, I don't agree to slavery. But that was what it was back
wasn't
in them
agree-
days.
No, you're saying
No,
that
hold on.
I can agree to be your slave.
No, it's not like that.
At them times, yeah, because that's what
Right.
slavery was.
So
back
his
then.
logic is that after a battle, in other words, the Muslims imposed themselves on another community and took captives. He's saying that it was all by consent.
No, I'm saying that's how it was
Rubbish.
back then.
Utter rubbish.
I'm saying that's how it was back then, though. There was slavery
No,
back
bro.
then. Is
They-
there slavery now?
Oh,
Is
yes,
there, where is
yes,
slavery now?
in Sudan, in Saudi Arabia, in Chad, in
And
Mauritania.
is this happening now?
Yes,
Is this happening
now,
Where's
today.
your resource? Show us the proof.
Go.
Of today, no,
Go
Bob.
and look
You're
up-
gone silent
go
now,
and look
silent
up-
Bob.
I'm not silent.
So where's your proof of today?
Can someone fact check me, please?
No, can you fact check yourself?
me.
Fact check
Fact check
yourself.
me. See if
Fact check
slavery is
yourself.
still happening today.
Fact yourself
Fact
today.
check me.
You show me because I
Come
didn't
on,
bring it
Google
up.
me.
I didn't
Ask
bring
if
it
where
up.
slavery is
No,
still
I
happening
want
today.
you to show me because I didn't bring it up.
Right.
I didn't bring it up. I want to bring up today's current issue. Now,
Anyone.
people like you.
I think you're making a
You're-
lot of
no,
noise to
you're-
get around a topic.
No.
I think you're making a
I
lot
think
of
you're
noise to
preaching
get
hate.
around a topic.
I think you're preaching hate, Bob.
I'm preaching hate
You're preaching
for
hate.
critiquing their prophet.
So, okay, hold on.
This
Who-
is the mindset of the Dawah team.
All right, what
But
Dawah
you
team?
cannot criticize their
What Dawah
prophet,
team?
otherwise you are a hate preacher.
Hold on.
But that never stops the Dawah team from critiquing the Christian faith.
All right, hold on. For the
They are
basis,
Christophobes by their own
for
logic.
the basis of the camera, I'm not here to preach hate like Bob does, yeah?
Why is it hate?
Because you're trying to cause a division in this community. Hold on. Who here is Muslim? Put your hand up. Muslim. Do you agree with people captivating women and raping them without the consent? Hold on. So hold on. For any Muslim in today's current world, Bob, silent, sharp man, sharp. Today in the current world, no Muslim is gonna agree to that. All right?
He says that, but what did ISIS do?
Who is ISIS?
What did ISIS
Okay,
do?
so this goes back to hold on.
Thank you.
This
They
goes back.
followed Muhammad.
Hold on.
They took female
Are you
captives
gonna just talk
and
over
then
me?
they raped them.
Let him finish.
Assyrian
Let him
Christians
finish.
were
Let him finish.
raped
Let him
by
finish.
ISIS, and ISIS used this very verse and this very hadith to justify their actions. Now, I agree. He doesn't agree with this kind of behavior. He's a good man. His conscience
He's bum
is
licking me
better
now.
than
He's bum
his
licking me,
book.
so I agree with him. But I'm not going
His
to agree with you.
conscience
I'm
is
not going to
better
agree with you, Bob.
than
You
his
cannot
book.
bum lick me, Bob.
But his book permits this kind of slavery.
Come on, Bob. Listen, let me think.
Right.
Hold on.
Okay. He says.
What you're
He says.
preaching is bullshit, bro.
He says.
It doesn't relate to
says-
any Muslim here. It doesn't relate to the
Let's try
Muslim
to
of the
advance the
world.
argument. Let's try to advance the argument. Because the defense that is being made
What defense?
is that these women consented. Is that what you're going to try and argue?
No.
That these women consented to have sex with their Muslim overlords.
No.
It wasn't rape.
No.
So it was rape.
No, it wasn't rape.
Did they
But-
consent?
Yeah, but because it
Did
was
they consent?
after the war.
Did they consent?
So
Did they give
did
permission
armies-
to have
did-
sex
did
with
armies-
these Muslim
did ar-
overlords?
Did
Yes or
armies
no?
of all countries back in them times get
He's not
consent
answering
from
the
any
question.
women they rape? Hold on.
Right, I'm asking you a
any
simple
army-
question.
Did any army?
Did they
did
consent?
Did
Yes
any
or
army
no?
consent against any country?
Right, the word consent means that they give permission to have sex.
Hold on, did any country?
The female captives.
Did any
Did
captive
they give
woman
consent
in any
to
war
their Muslim
give
masters
permission?
to have sex with them?
No, they didn't give.
So that is
brother.
rape.
No,
Brother,
Thank
I
you.
know.
Continue my
That
answer.
is rape.
No, they didn't
Any-
give. They
any-
told them because
Why
they were
are you
in war
ignoring me,
afterward.
Bob?
This were
Bob,
taken,
why are you ignoring me?
After men. So after taking them as after the war.
After taking them
Yeah,
as slaves,
no, as not as slaves, they were treated as another.
or not slaves.
Yeah.
So they weren't captives.
Hold on,
No.
hold on,
They weren't
Bob.
captives.
Bob,
Okay.
Bob,
So
They were-
Bob.
were they captives?
Yeah, of the war.
So they were captives.
Yeah, but it was by their FD. In Islam, if you had.
So they consented.
I don't think anyone who's been captive
Now
in
listen
any
to the
war has
argument.
given consent. So your
Listen
your
to the
argument
argument.
is bollocks,
Because they
Bob.
were, as if they did that, so they are married.
So listen to the argument. The argument is they gave consent.
Who's making
That
that
is the
argument?
defence.
Who's making that argument?
But
or
listen
defense?
carefully. Listen carefully.
At what?
They were reluctant, as in the Muslim overlords of their female captives, were reluctant to have intercourse with their female captives in the presence of their husbands. Which means
They're married.
that Muhammad condoned adultery. He
How?
condoned a woman having sex with another man in the presence of their husband.
Hold on.
So they
Hold on.
exchange one sin
Adultery-
for another
Adultery
sin.
is condemned
Rape
in the
for
Quran.
adultery.
Adultery is condemned in the Quran. Listen,
Can anyone prove that?
adultery,
They didn't want to rape
adultery
them.
is
But
condemned
then
in the
Muhammad
Quran.
said,
No, he didn't say that. It's not in the Quran.
Can you show where the
Then-
condone?
then-
Show me the Quran where
You
it
want-
say that.
Doesn't
You
it
want-
mean that they didn't want to rape
Right,
them?
so-
Why are you saying they did when it
So-
says that they're saying that they
They
were reluctant?
didn't. And then listen to the injunction that comes from Allah.
Okay.
Right? Yeah. Also
Yeah, you know what I mean?
prohibited are
He's giving
women
his-
already
he's giving
married,
his own quotation.
except those whom your right hands possess. Which means Allah is giving permission to these Muslims to have sex with their female captives.
By marriage,
Now-
no, if you read tafsir, there is something called tafsir which explains the Quran.
They are married already, it
This
says,
is
in the
not the Quran.
presence
This
of
is-
their
this-
husbands.
This is not the Quran. This is
Does Islam permit a woman to have more
That's
than
not
one
in the
husband?
Quran, man.
This is the hadith.
Yeah, but
Abu
they didn't want
Dawood
to rape them.
2150 and Sahih al-Muslim 3433.
So these Muslims didn't want to rape the women. They were reluctant to rape them, so they didn't want to do it.
They
That's
were
what it says.
reluctant.
So they didn't want to.
But then they did.
So that's good for them, isn't it? They're
They
obviously
did.
good people if they
They
didn't want to
did.
rape them.
They
It didn't
did.
say they were willing to rape them. It says they were reluctant.
Right.
So isn't that a positive thing?
Right, do you want now the brother is saying that this evidence says that they didn't rape them,
They said they
but
were
he's not
reluctant,
listening. They were reluctant, it doesn't mean they didn't.
Brother, listen, I'm just going to say one statement.
Because, listen,
hold on, this is from a
in the
hadith,
Quran,
innit?
in Surah,
Let him finish, innit?
in Surah 4,
I'm gonna read you one statement from a
also
hadith, right?
prohibited are
One
women
small
already
sentence.
married except those whom your right hands possess. In other words, you have permission to have sex with people that are not married.
All right, so you're going-
However,
hold
let
on.
us bring this home. Let us bring this home because we have an even clearer hadith.
Which verse is that? Is that the one that directly follows
That's
the one you
Surah
just read out?
424, which is the context in which this hadith was revealed.
So that's
This
420
hadith,
which
this
hadith
hadith is the
Just stop
gives
to
the
it. I'm saying,
situation.
what is this?
This
This is all
brother,
written down.
brother.
This is the Quran.
Okay.
This is not from the Quran.
This is a hadith. I've given you the reference. It's Sahih Muslim 3433. Keep up.
Okay, so it's
So,
not the Quran.
it has been narrated. This is another
So
hadith.
you're not reading from the
So you're
Quran.
taking from
It's
the
a
Quran
hadith
and
which
from
Sahih
hadith.
Muslims
not the
accept
Quran.
as an
No, you're not
authority.
reading
not
from
the
the
Quran.
You don't get Islam, bro.
It's not.
No,
Who
no,
doesn't? You don't get
Hadith
Islam, bro.
are used
You
to
don't get
interpret the
Islam,
Quran.
bro.
So if the
So this is an
hadith say
interpretation of the Quran.
Yeah.
they are used
Yeah,
by
but some
Muslims to
Tom, Dick,
He's not
interpret
reading
the
from the
Quran.
Quran just to make
Yeah,
it
he
clear.
doesn't.
Yeah, make it clear.
I think everyone is
Hold on.
clear about what I'm reading from because I've been giving my sources
So is it
first.
from the Quran?
So,
Is it from the Quran?
let's read
I'll tell you
more.
something from the Quran.
You
Hold
said
on,
you were
hold
gonna
on.
read
From
Okay,
the
go on.
Quran.
It's the Quran.
Rape
Read it from the
is
Quran.
considered a serious
Yeah, read it from the
sexual
Quran.
crime in Islam.
Go on.
Yeah? in the Quran, right?
Yeah.
And can be defined in Islamic law as forcible, illegal sex.
This is not the Quran. This is not the Quran. You're reading a commentary.
Anyway,
You're reading an
forcible
opinion.
by a man with a woman who is not legally married to him without her free consent.
Right.
That's a hadith.
Yeah.
That's a hadith.
So he's using hadith while criticising me for using hadith.
It's a review from.
That is the contradiction of the
Hold on. Hold on. It was
You follow the tafsir? You follow the tafsir readings for
what is your belief on the tafsir?
explanation given by your scholars.
Okay, so you tell me what the tafsirs are.
I'm going to. I am going to. Okay, Surah 24:33. Surah 24:33. Are you listening carefully, bro?
There you go.
Because you've been lied to. You have been lied to.
By you mean?
By who?
Right, listen. Surah 24, ayah 33 reads, "But force not your maids to prostitution when they desire chastity, in order that ye may make a gain in the goods of this life. But," are you listening? "But if anyone compels them, yet after such compulsion is Allah oft forgiving, most merciful."
So what does that mean?
Where are you going on now, bro?
What does that mean? He
So,
doesn't even know what it means.
Force
You don't even
not
know what
your
it
maids
means.
to prostitution when they
Start
desire
again from the start.
chastity,
Say it from the
in
start.
order that ye may make a
commanding
gain
you
in the goods of this
So
life.
it's commanding you not to force your women into prostitution.
Thank you.
But
Listen.
if anyone compels them
In
yet
war against Islam.
after such compulsion, Allah will be oft forgiving, most merciful. In other words, don't do it, but if you do, Allah will forgive you anyway.
No, it doesn't.
No,
No, it doesn't, Bob. No, it doesn't. That is your own interpretation of it. That is your own interpretation of it, Bob. I don't understand what you're. Can I ask you a question? What is your problem with Islam? What
Okay.
is your problem with Islam?
This is a commentary on this verse.
Surah 7, yeah?
In Dashti, page
What is the name?
50.
What's the name of interested in what it says
Oh,
in the
but
Quran.
you are interested in commentary when it legitimates
No, I'm interested
Islam,
in what it says
but
in the
not when
Quran.
it doesn't
No,
legitimate.
I'm not a Muslim.
I've just
I'm
given
not a
you.
Muslim.
I've just
I
given
wanna
you
know
the
what it
ayah
says
in the Quran.
in the Quran. Don't
Let's
talk
see
about
how
Surah.
Muslims interpreted that verse.
Which surah?
That was Surah 24 An-Nur, ayah
An-Nur, yeah,
33.
so wait.
While you're
Let him
finding
read
that,
it now. No, you've read your version.
Okay, yeah,
Let him
yeah,
read
yeah.
his one and tell you
Yeah.
what it says.
By the
right?
way, this is not my version. This is a version interpreted
So what are the white stickers?
by Muslims.
What about the white stickers?
This is a Muslim
So
version
what are the white
of the
stickers?
Quran.
What are the white stickers?
Okay,
What are these white stickers?
I'm going to read it to you.
I'm asking you, what are they?
Al-Dashti, a
What?
humane and salutary injunction.
I'm not asking what it says. I'm asking what is this white sticker
Are you
you've put on
listening?
there? No, I'm asking you to
He
ask
doesn't
my
want to
question.
listen. He's asking a question, but he doesn't want to listen.
All right, so what
I am trying to tell you what the white stickers are, but you're saying you don't want to
You're
listen after
reading
answer the
you're
question.
reading the white sticker.
So, the white stickers are further commentary
By
from
who?
hadith and Muslim sources.
From where?
From Muslim sources. So, for example, this one is by Ali Dashti, and he, on Surah 24, ayah 33, says this. A
Ali
humane and salutary injunction in Surah 24:33 shows that a cruel and immoral abuse was practiced at that time. Obviously, the verse prohibits the vile practice of slave owners who prostituted their female slaves and pocketed their proceeds, and no less obviously the words God after their coercion is forgiving and merciful, mean that God pardons slave girls for having unwilling committed fornication. The outward form of the words, however, is such that they can be taken to mean that God is forgiving and compassionate to men who prostitute their female slaves.
That's too many.
So in other words, Muslims are having to reinterpret the plain meaning of the text to get their profit out of the embarrassment of legitimizing prostitution of female slaves.
Who does
And
that?
that isn't me saying it, that is a Muslim scholar saying it.
54, yeah?
So now we're going to read what he said.
What, 54? Show me. What
Surah 24,
An-Nur, yeah?
Ayah
34.
33.
33. Here's 30. It's
Why
what the-
are
read it
you
again.
fueling these terrorists?
One
You're giving them reasons to do it.
Who am
Why
I
are you
fueling?
fueling terrorists?
Why are you?
Why are you- you're
what-
fueling
do-
terrorists.
what? So, in your mind,
In my mind, all right.
in your mind,
Yeah.
a legitimate critique of Islam is fueling terrorism.
No, it's not. How is that of Islam?
You have just said to me,
You're
based upon my critique of your religion,
actions of
that
extremist
I am
terrorists
fueling.
who don't
Who's the
represent
extremist
Islam.
terrorist? We're reading the Quran.
Go and look.
This is what the Quran
So you're
says.
telling me
I'm not quoting the magazine of ISIS.
hey.
I'm quoting your holy book.
No, it's wrong. Ayah 34. Here.
This
Bro,
is your holy
it's
book,
Surah
not an
An-Nur.
ISIS
My holy
magazine.
book,
Surah
my holy
An-Nur, yeah.
book tells me not to
Surah
rape
An-Nur.
women.
Yeah,
My holy
Surah
book
An-Nur.
tells me
Yeah.
not to capture women, mate.
34.
Yeah,
34.
yeah.
34 ولقد أنزلنا إليكم آيات مبينات ومثل من الذين ومثل من الذين خلوا من قبلكم وموعظة للمتقين.
Yeah.
And here is, could you read that? This is the translation.
I've got the translation right here.
No,
No,
read
it's
this
the wrong.
one.
This is
Oh,
the
it's the
translation.
wrong translation.
Yeah,
In
because
other
you
words,
created it.
it's
This
a
is not Quran.
translation that embarrasses my religion,
No.
and so it's wrong.
No, could you
The
read it?
only
Okay.
legitimate
You don't want to
translation
read it. You
are
are
those
using
that
the
make
wrong-
my religion
You are
look
using
good,
the wrong-
not look
We have our
bad.
book, which is in Arabic.
Let him say
And
the
it's the way that
translation.
it came in it.
Why
Read
don't you
this
hear
one.
the translation?
No, I have the
We have sent down
translation.
clear instructions
Go on.
to you,
Yeah,
an
read.
illustration from
Yep.
of those who have gone before you,
Yep.
and warning for those who take heed for themselves. This is the ayah. You are getting another ayah with another thing.
What does that say?
An-Nur 34, here is it. If anyone
For the
can read Arabic,
cameras.
say for that.
Say the cameras.
Show the camera. Here is it. Surah An-Nur.
Surah Al-Nur,
An-Nur.
and then show you on your phone.
An-Nur 34. Here is it.
He's
34.
accusing me of lying. I'm holding
Yeah.
the book in my
It's
hand.
not this. This is not
This-
our
Quran,
And
bro.
here is
This-
it. Surah An-Nur. Show the
Surah
camera. Surah An-Nur.
24,
Surah
Ayah
An-Nur.
33.
Ayah.
This is the
No,
actual Quran.
so it's 33.
This is a
I've
translation
just
by
said that.
someone.
You said 34. You said
You
have
don't
just said
listen.
Ayah 33.
Yeah.
You don't
No,
listen.
before he said Ayah 33.
You know why you don't listen? It's because you
No,
shout
I'm
too
listening.
much.
No, I'm listening.
You need to relax.
Who smokes too
You
much?
need to relax. So let's return to this brother's
Why are you
comment.
fueling terrorists?
Why am I fueling terrorism?
Yeah, why are you fueling
So
terrorists?
in this brother's mind, a critique of
You're
his
giving
holy
them a
book.
reason. No,
Oh,
no,
go
hold
on, go on, finish that
You're
sentence.
You're giving them a reason
Yeah.
to go and rape women. Whereas we're
Right.
giving you a reason that we can.
Did you all
we
hear
can
that?
rape.
I read from their holy book,
That's
and
not-
they
okay.
said,
Translation.
get off
This is
my-
not. All right, but okay, I want to.
Don't touch.
The Holy Quran translated by Abdullah Yusuf.
Abdullah
Translated.
Yusuf. That's
Hold
a
on.
real Christian name.
Bro, so what?
Yeah,
So what?
it's all a giant
So what?
Christian
That's
Jewish
it doesn't say the Holy
conspiracy.
Quran. It doesn't say the Holy Quran.
It's all a
The Holy
giant
Quran-
Christian Jewish conspiracy.
The Holy Quran.
Notice what he
is here.
said.
This is the Holy
I
Quran.
read from their holy book, and they said
No, the
that I'm giving
translation-
an excuse to terrorists
it's-
to rape women.
I said that it's my holy book. I say it's a translation of the Quran.
Notice,
What
ladies
does your
and
book say? What
gentlemen,
does your book say?
whenever the Muslims
What does your book
find
say?
a
What does your book say,
translation
brother?
that causes them difficulty
again, and I will
about
mine.
their Quran,
No.
they simply throw the translation under the book.
Let him finish. Are you finished?
So let us move this argument
No,
forward.
hold on. I want to
Let
say
us
something.
move-
I want to say something.
Okay, I'll let you reply to this point and then we'll move
I'm
the
not going to
argument
reply
forward.
to what you're saying. I'm going to make a statement for the benefit of the tape because you seem to come here and make it look like we are all agreeing with rape and capturing Muslims.
No, I don't.
So why is your
No,
point
I
of view-
don't.
Okay, so why is the
You don't listen, do you?
Hold on.
No, you don't listen. What I said was, Muslims' conscience is more often than not better than their deen. Muslims' conscience is
hold on,
better
hold on.
than their book.
Okay, hold
I
on.
said exactly the
Okay,
opposite
okay,
of
have you
what
finished?
you accused
So
me of.
Are you finished? Have you finished? Have you finished?
Go on.
So whatever you said today about raping
Yep.
and capturing,
Yep.
which Muslim in this park has agreed that it was right?
Abdul Hakim.
Is he in the park? Where is he?
No, he's not here today.
Hello? Any Muslims? Again? And again, for the benefit of the tape,
Hold
all
on.
the Muslims put your hand
Hold
up.
on. One
All
second.
the Muslims put your hand
One
up.
second.
Do you agree with women being raped?
Not at
Do
all.
you agree?
Not at all.
Shut up,
They
bro.
capture
You are here preaching hate.
Right,
You
one
are
second.
here-
They
none of the
contradict
Muslims-
their own book.
None of them.
They don't want to believe in their own book. And I agree with them. It is good that you don't agree with your own book.
In the
It
Quran,
is good that you don't agree with your own book.
in the Quran, it says not to rape
Your
women.
conscience condemns you.
People like him, that make people like you hate Muslims. We're all good people. He's a
Last
prick.
sentence.
You're a prick, mate. You're another hate preacher.
Okay, which
Hate
one?
preacher, bro.
I don't know.
Hate preacher,
But
bro.
if anyone compels them, yet after such compulsion is Allah of forgiving the most merciful.
Yeah, he will forgive the woman, not the guy.
Okay, and that's
He will
why
give
I
them
read. That is why I read Ali Dashti, who wrote.
I don't care who
Ali
I care what
Dashti?
God said.
Read the
Do you
Quran,
listen?
mate.
Do you
Read
listen?
the Quran, brother.
Listen,
Shut up, man.
one Muslim is arguing with a Muslim scholar.
Yeah.
According to
Yeah,
Islam,
because
who
we
do you
condemn-
believe?
We condemn people
Any
like that,
man
mate.
in his opinion,
We condemn-
or the ulama? Who are you told to believe?
Who told you
Allah.
The Quran tells
To
you
believe Allah.
to obey
believe
Allah, His Prophet, and those who are placed in authority above you.
No, Allah.
And those placed in authority above you are the ulama.
Is he a prophet?
No, bro.
Ali Dashti.
No, bro.
Right?
No, bro.
Is he a prophet?
No, bro. It is whatever you want. You're shouting and saying.
No, he's not reading from the Quran. He's reading from some
Yeah.
person who isn't even a prophet.
Do you know what I'm trying to say, bro?
Exactly, he's not a
This is
prophet.
what fuels terrorists.
Yeah,
This is what I'm trying to tell you. People like you fuel terrorists, mate. You're just as bad as them. This ISIS in disguise a fucking cunt. Sorry about the language.
Why are you propagating it?
Innit? Why are you causing a division? Why are you causing a division, mate?
Why am I causing a division?
Why are you causing a division?
Let me answer this
Because none of the
question.
Muslims here
You are
are
propagating.
Let me
women
answer this
and
question.
rape non-Muslims.
We have it on record, on camera, and you can see it on SoCo films. I have stood in front of Muslims who have attempted to justify the slave trade.
Who's
I have
justifying
stood
it?
in front of Muslims who have attempted to justify marrying children and having
Why are you
sex
shouting?
with them.
Why are you shouting?
I
Why are you
have
shouting?
stood in front of Muslims.
Why are you shouting?
Let me ask you this question.
Why are you shouting?
So,
Why are you shouting?
your argument is they gave consent.
Our argument was about ISIS, and you took it to Islam, and you're talking about my holy book in a bad way. But I will
Yeah.
not talk about your book because I believe in the Bible. I believe in the book of Jewish, and that's what our Islam told
So
us.
you believe in the Bible?
Not this Bible, the right
Ah,
one.
so he's just talked bad of the
No,
Bible.
no, we believe in that. We
Is
believe
my Bible trustworthy?
No, it's.
There you go. So he
But I will not
says,
take
I'm
it
not
in.
going to talk bad about your
Yeah.
book.
Was
But
it not
if I
meant
say
to?
my book is trustworthy, he says no, it isn't. The double
you're
standards of the Dawah team
What Dawah team,
again
man?
and again
Dawah team, man?
exposed.
Can I ask you a
was
question?
talking
Hold on,
about
hold on,
ISIS
hold on. Can
and
I ask you a
want to prove
question?
that ISIS is not
Can I-
Muslim,
wait,
then you
hold
took
on.
it to Islam and you
Yeah.
know
So why have
Because
you got
you
on
said-
subject? Why you took him
You
away from
said-
the other Congo?
Yeah,
Did ISIS
Don't say
rape
nothing.
their female
Don't say-
captives?
don't say-
ISIS, they are not.
They're
I am
not
asking
following
you.
him.
And
They're
ISIS
not
do
following
not
Islam.
Did
I will
they?
not talk about ISIS because ISIS
Did
doesn't
they?
We
represent
don't stand
me.
for
I
ISIS.
don't know.
Did they?
ISIS
We don't
doesn't
stand for
represent me.
ISIS, brother.
I know you don't.
So why
and I
are
accept
you, so why
that
are you
you
using
don't.
ISIS as an example of Muslims?
Yeah.
I am using the fact that ISIS
on.
justified their actions from the
But we are
verses
telling you,
I am
we are telling you as Muslims that ISIS are not following the.
Tell me a caliphate that
Why are you
believe
butting in? Why are you butting in? No, hold on, hold on.
Why?
You preaching hate.
Why are you associating Muslims with ISIS?
Thank you very much. This is
I
what
don't
we've done.
associate Muslims
Yes, you
with
have.
ISIS.
Yes, you have.
Why don't you
Yes,
talk
you
about
have.
the Muslim religion rather than talk? And
I am.
my
causing a
personal-
division.
I am. No, you weren't here at the beginning of this
No,
conversation.
hold on.
You were not here at the beginning of this conversation.
Wrong things from
This conversation started.
Defer to your elder.
If I want to.
Defer to your elder.
I want to respond.
About religion.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Completely. There should be
My
no
opinion,
religion. No
religion is a lot of
on site.
crap. All it is putting one God against another God. My God is better than your God, and the result of that you get wars and people getting killed. In the Second World War, we believed in God, the Germans believed in God, but
No, they
we
didn't.
were still fighting
Germans
one
didn't
another.
believe- the
No,
Nazis
the Nazis
did not.
didn't. I'm talking about the German people did.
No, the Nazis didn't.
Okay, and most wars, and if you look in Northern Ireland, it's my God is better than your God. Anywhere you go, it's all been about my God is better than your God. The quicker you do away religion, the quicker you'll do away with war.
Uncle, may I reply? So, in terms of a reply to what you're saying...
No, I'm just saying he shut him up. I'm clapping because he shut him up finally, bruv.
Because he's older than me.
Wow.
Yes, it's respectful.
It's good, respectful, but you should respect
Will you
everyone.
let me talk to the uncle?
Yeah, I will
and
let
not
you,
to
but you cannot choose to respect him because he's older and me because I'm a human being.
So, Uncle, so the point that I'm making to you...
I'm not uncle, I'm your uncle.
We call
My name's Peter, I'm not
You're
an old
Peter.
man.
If you want to be called Peter, I'll call you
I
Peter.
might be 80 years of age, but I don't treat me like an old man.
We call everyone...
Patronise me.
It's not patronising, we call everyone uncles who's older than us. This is a normal thing within a church. So when we meet who are older than us, we call them uncle as a sign of respect. Okay, I'll call you Peter. Okay, so Peter, in terms of the history of this discussion, the history goes back further than World War II. Europeans have a history that is much older than modern history that we get taught in school.
It's all been about
Right,
religion.
but the point is, for over 1400 years, Islamic empires have tried to conquer Europe. And in so doing, they have subjugated the
Christians haven't
Christians.
gone to Jerusalem. What were the
Do you know the
What were
history?
the Crusaders doing?
They were
They
Christians
were going
helping
across to the
persecuted
Middle East,
Christians.
ramping and pillaging.
They were Christians helping.
All in the name of religion.
Peter, you don't
They
know
were
your
raping
history.
and robbing.
Peter, you don't know your history.
Go to India.
Your history,
What were they doing in
Peter. I'm afraid, Peter, you don't know
What
your
were they
history.
doing in India?
Peter,
What was
you're,
the British Empire
okay,
doing in the
I'm not
third
going to speak
world?
to. I can't talk to Peter. He doesn't want to listen. So no. So anyway. So wait a minute.
What about the workers?
So what I would say to you, yeah, the whole
He
point.
doesn't need help, man.
the
This
whole
guy's
point-
talking rubbish.
The whole point of what we're talking about is we started the discussion based upon ISIS.
Yeah. And he took it to the other way. I told you
Yeah,
to prove that the Quran says to kill people. You didn't prove
You
that.
want me to show you where it says kill
But
people?
only the
Fine.
person.
One second. He said, show me where
No, I
in
have
the
the
Quran
Quran.
it
Show me the
says.
Quran.
It says
Show
to
me
kill
that before you
people,
open
innit?
the surah. I want to see.
Come on,
Let's
this
talk
debate's been done. It's
where
been
the
done,
Quran
bro.
says
what you have
kill
written.
It's
people.
been done. This debate has been done,
Let's
innit?
talk about where it says the Quran commands people.
Why
So,
don't you get your Quran out rather than this thing you're reading from?
He's reading a translation. Go read the Quran.
Go and get the Quran.
Read it
Bro.
in English. Read the
Read the
Quran.
Quran.
Which one?
am I reading an English translation right now?
By
There
who?
you go.
By
Thank
who,
you very
man?
much. By a Muslim scholar, a Muslim linguist, translated by Abdullah Yusuf Ali. Yeah. Now notice, they say to us, we who are English speaking, that we must learn Arabic.
Who said that?
I say to you,
better
why
to know
can
Arabic.
God not speak in my own language? Why must I subjugate
The Bible
myself
tell me which language.
to
No,
Arab
no,
imperialism
So
like
to
you
protect-
have?
The
I'll answer the question.
Why?
I'll answer the question. To protect yourself
Alright, so to
from
protect myself,
mistranslations,
so to
like what
protect
you're talking
myself,
about,
to protect
mistranslations
myself,
who can lie to people
so
and
to
say you
pro-
can rape women,
so a
and then
Muslim
some
was
people
lying.
go and rape women,
A Muslim
and then
was
you
lying
go
about
and
his
say,
own
that's
holy
what
book.
you can come and
A
rape
Muslim
women.
was lying
That's
about
what
his
you
own
do.
holy book.
You.
ISIS.
A
That's
Muslim
what you
was
should
lying
learn.
about his own
ISIS.
holy
That's
book.
what you
He's
should learn
ISIS.
A
Hebrew.
Muslim was
That's
lying
what you
about
should
his own
learn
holy
Hebrew.
book.
So
No,
you're not
a Muslim was
deceived.
lying about
What
his
are
So
own
you're
holy
not
book.
deceived.
What are you
by
A
talking
people.
Muslim was lying
You're
about
not
his own holy
deceived.
book. So he
Learn
says,
mate.
he
Learn
says,
Hebrew.
he
Learn
says
Hebrew.
that I have to learn Arabic to protect
Yes,
myself.
So that you can read it in
I
the
would
original
say
scripture,
that
and
as
you're not
Christians
deceived.
we have something better than the Quran. Because God revealed himself in our Lord Jesus Christ
Calvinism.
as
We have
a
Calvinism.
man.
Hold on, we don't know
As a man.
Yeah, Calvinism says
And
you can
as
do whatever you
a
want,
man,
and your name can't
it
be blotted
means
out.
that we were
Calvinism says
able to
you can do
tell
whatever
his
you want.
story,
You can rape women.
to
You can
deliver
murder people.
his
You can do
message,
what you want,
to
and your name won't be
deliver
blotted out.
his message,
Calvinism.
and because it is a story about a man, it means that those stories can be translated.
Why have you got
In
a
other words, the Christian revelation is more universal than the Quran.
How?
The Quran forces those of us who are not Arabs to submit ourselves to Arab imperialism.
How?
And we
How?
see
Hold on, how?
Arab.
How?
I will demonstrate.
What about the Church of
They
England?
ask me
Who's
how.
the head of the Church of England?
Allow me
Who's
to
the head of the Church of
demonstrate.
England?
Allow me to
How?
demonstrate.
Demonstrate how?
Allow me to demonstrate.
Henry VIII said he was God.
They asked
Imperialism.
how.
No, I'm asking
They
you.
asked
I'm
how.
asking you. Hold on.
They asked How?
Hold on.
You asked
Hold on.
how.
Yeah, let me finish
So
my
I'm
question.
going to answer
My
the
question
question.
isn't finished. My question
Arab
isn't finished.
imperialism.
My question isn't finished.
No,
You're
it was
answering what
about you
want.
asked how.
You're answering what you want.
You asked
you
how.
Are answering what you
People
want.
can decide for themselves if I'm making
So are
up
you
an
going to just
answer.
talk over me and answer
Because
what? What are
you asked a
answering?
question and
What
then
are
you don't want to
answering?
listen to an
What are
answer.
you answering?
Do you want to hear an answer to the question
What was
how?
the question? How what?
Do you want to hear a question to the? Do you want to hear an answer to the question how?
How what? How what are you
How
answering?
does
What are you
Arab
answering?
imperialism demonstrate itself through the spread of Islam?
In today's current
today's world.
Okay,
I
right.
will give you an example from someone at Speaker's Corner. A Jamaican, Afro-Caribbean, who converted to Islam, suddenly tries to start speaking in Arabic with an Arabic accent speaking in English, dresses as an Arab man, starts praying in Arabic to an Arab city following an Arab prophet. If that isn't Arab imperialism, I don't know what is.
So did he do that? Did someone force that on him? Or did he do that on his own choice?
He did that because the best way to be a Muslim
Hold on,
is
you're not
like
answering
being
my
Mohammed.
question. No, hold on. Don't buy him. You're not answering my question.
It was a free choice.
So he doesn't have his
It
own
wasn't
choice.
imposed.
So was it forced on him?
It wasn't
so
imposed.
does your statement stand correct?
No.
Shut up.
Right.
Shut up.
So,
shut up, bro.
let me ask you
talk
this
shit.
question.
No, you can't say nothing now. I'm going to talk now. This
The
man
Christian
here,
faith-
preaches hate. Everybody
He
around.
says that I preach hate.
What have you said good about Islam? What have you said
because
good about
I
Islam?
criticise their
Okay,
book.
so how much? Hold on.
So in his mind, any criticism of his book is hate speech.
So do you have good things to say about Islam?
If there are good things
Do
to
you?
say, I will say them.
So do you have anything good to say about Islam?
Do I have to say something
Yeah,
good?
because I want to know
Oh,
if you're a
yes,
hate
I
preacher.
do.
I want to know if you're a hate
Why
preacher.
do I have to say
Because
something good about Islam?
I'm asking you your own opinion of Islam.
There are good things I can say about Islam.
So you agree there are good things of Islam?
There are,
So
but they're outweighed by the bad things.
How? How many bad things compared to good things?
Okay, one, Islam legitimizes slavery.
No, it doesn't.
That is bad.
No, it doesn't.
He says he doesn't
No, it doesn't.
legitimize slavery.
Stop your book. Stop your book. I want to talk about your opinion.
Oh, dear.
I want to talk about your opinion.
Oh,
What's
dear.
your opinion, mate? Not this book. What's your
Right.
opinion? So, alright, go on. How many
He
Muslims do
said
you take a slave in today? Shut
that
up, man.
Islam
Shut up, bruv.
does
This man's
not
a waste of time,
justify
bruv.
slavery.
Waste of time, bruv.
If
Waste
that
of
is
time.
true,
Close your book.
then where
Close your book.
Islam has dominated,
What's your opinion, mate?
we can expect that Islam would have ended slavery. But let's look at the evidence.
This guy talks so much.
Listen.
In Qatar,
All the Abrahamic religions.
Islam was
So now
only
this book is his
slavery
opinion.
was only banned
All of them.
in 1952
All of them. All the
in
Abrahamic religions.
Iran.
All of them. What
Slavery was only banned in 1929 in Iraq.
Show the camera. Show the camera.
In Iraq.
Check his
In
handwriting.
Iraq.
He's reading his handwriting,
Islam
bro.
only banned slavery in 1924
Bruv, you're just as bad as
in
ISIS,
Morocco. Islam only banned slavery in
Okay, what about
1922.
Christianity? What about Christianity?
In Egypt.
What about Christianity?
Banned slavery.
What about Christianity?
I'm going to answer the question.
What about Christianity?
What about Christianity? What about Christianity? Are you going to listen to the answer? Do you want to hear the answer?
No, the question.
Speak up, you wimps. Do you want to hear the answer?
Let's
go.
Fact check.
About Christianity.
The bad points of Christianity.
In AD
The bad questions.
873, Pope John VIII
Ask for the bad
banned
points
the
of
holding of other Christians as slaves.
What about the bad points of
In
Christianity?
960
AD,
AD, the Doge Pietro the Fourth banned slavery
Okay, listen.
outright.
Okay, can we talk about the religious
In
books?
1080.
Talk about the religious books.
In
Does the Bible
1080.
condone slavery?
In
Does the Bible condone
1080.
slavery? Does the
No,
Bible condone
in
slavery?
1080.
Does the Bible condone slavery?
In
Does the Bible
1080.
condone
None of that.
slavery?
None of that.
England.
That is not Islam. We don't condemn that in Islam, yeah.
Slavery.
Answer the question.
Guys, we're all brothers.
Okay.
We're all brothers here, boys.
Slavery. Does the Bible condone slavery?
Iceland. Ban slavery.
He's infuriating his own kind.
1220.
The Bible does condone slavery.
Sasha
If you read the Bible, it condones slavery.
slavery.
The Talmud condones slavery.
Due to the
The
image
Torah
of God.
condones slavery.
In
All the Abrahamic
1256
religions condone
AD.
slavery.
Because in
Bologna.
historic times, slavery was
Slavery.
current. It was current. It's not current now, mate.
15.
Stop dividing, Bob.
Low in the 10.
The biggest
Ban
slave trade was
slavery
taking place in the
in
Netherlands.
France.
The slave
So,
the biggest
by
slave
the
trade,
14th
the
century,
biggest slave trade was the
Christianity,
The biggest slave
ban
trade was
slavery,
the biggest slave trade
outright
was conducted
at
by
a time
Christian countries, by
when
the Catholic countries.
Muslims who
So
were
what are you
following
talking
Islam were still
It was condoned by the
practicing
Bible.
slavery.
Bob, you don't need to
Thank
shout.
you.
No one's listening, you don't need to shout. Hold on, keep rolling, keep rolling. Keep rolling, keep rolling. Can I ask you a question, Bob?
I'm going to answer his question
They all
first.
condone
He's
slavery.
talking to someone.
And they
I want to ask
I'm
you.
gonna answer
in our
his
history.
How
Didn't
many
they killed millions of people over
I am
400
going
years.
to-
How many
Answer
countries
Christians
and
did it
religions
too. It's
in
not
this
an
country?
argument.
I'm talking about Christians.
It's not an argument,
Oh,
though.
exactly.
That's not an argument against what he's saying.
It is, because
No,
he's
it's not. It's
saying-
like saying, okay, since you can kill people, I can kill
He's
people. Then
talking
killing
about
is
Christians.
fine.
That is their logic.
Not supporting
That is the
slavery.
logic of the
He's
Dawah.
talking about Christians not supporting slavery
So-
when the Christian nations
Bro, we've already
killed more
seen him on
people.
camera. We know he's sympathetic to the Dawah
It's
team.
arguing against him. He's talking about slavery being banned. Who committed the biggest crime of slavery? Who was it? Which nations? It was the Christian nations.
I want
It
to
doesn't
address his
matter.
question
It
first.
does matter. It does matter. It does matter. Of course it matters. Of course it matters. No, he's talking about the people. He's talking about the Ottoman Empire.
Okay.
He's talking about Muslims.
Ladies
and he's
and
saying that they
gentlemen,
condone slavery.
the brother asked the question. Thank you. We are trying to listen, and people don't want you to shout.
You're shouting in my face.
Would you like to
You're shouting in his
listen?
face.
You were shouting in my face.
Does the Bible condone slavery?
Let's talk about it.
Yeah,
Let's talk
read
about it. So,
Okay.
in the Christian scriptures, we read this. Because it is true that just like Islam, Christianity was also born in a time when slavery
now
was
you agree
normal.
to what I was saying earlier.
Listen carefully.
It's finally
Do you
agree.
notice they don't want to listen?
This is what he was doing to us.
Notice they don't
This
want
is
to
what he was
listen.
doing to us, innit?
Do you want to hear my answer?
Yes.
Yes. You got to speak up, guys, because these two are deaf.
No, I said
Do you
yes.
want to hear my
I
answer?
said yes. I said
Louder. Do you want to hear my answer? Right. So the people want you to be quiet.
No. We
Are you
said yes
listening?
as well, Bob.
Listen. Listen.
We said yes as well, Bob.
Each man must remain in the condition in which he is called. He's talking about your status in society, whether you're aristocrat, slave, freeborn, etc. Were you called whilst a slave? Do not worry about it, but if you are able to do so, become free.
If you're able
The
to do so.
apostles,
What if you're not able to do so?
then you have to stay a slave.
Oh, right, so the Bible does condone slavery.
But it commands you to
So it
seek
can-
your freedom
Oh.
wherever you
So
can.
there's-
Show me something like that in the Quran.
So are there verses?
Show
Are
me
there
something like that
verses
in the
Quran?
Quran.
Okay, can I have a fact check? Can I have a fact
Yeah,
check? Can
fact
you
check.
Google
hold on.
Bible
Show
verses
me
that
in the
condone
Quran
slavery?
where it
Find
commands slaves
many,
to find their
and that's
freedom.
why the transatlantic
Show me.
slave trade
Show
took
me.
place for 400
Show me.
years.
Have you
The
got a verse?
transatlantic slave trade
Have you got a
took
verse?
place because the Bible
Oh, he hasn't got a
condones
verse.
slavery.
He hasn't got a
Can I have a
verse.
fact check, please? You'll
Why are
find
you
many,
asking
many
him about
verses.
Islam?
No, the Bible condoned slavery.
He's talking
Notice,
about the Bible.
he hasn't got a verse.
He's talking
The
about
Catholic
the Bible.
Church condoned it.
He's not a Muslim. Why are you asking him to show you
I'm
a
not a
verse?
Christian either, but I'm
okay.
my Bible.
Why are you
and
asking him to show you a verse from the Quran?
You're the Muslim. You show me.
Okay, no, I'm not going to show you a verse because I haven't even memorized the Quran. But what I'm going to tell you as a Muslim,
Where is the verse in the Quran
I
that
can Google
commands
it.
slaves
I can Google it.
to find their freedom? The Bible
I can prove
commands
wrong with my own-
Christians
with my own words,
who
don't
are
worry.
slaves to find their freedom if they can. Yes. If they can, which means you try to be free.
Muslims
Show me something in the Quran.
The slave tries to be free.
Show me
Why
in the
doesn't it tell them-
Quran.
Why doesn't it tell the slave owners to free their slaves?
So,
why doesn't it command them to free their slaves?
Muslims are told.
It doesn't.
Muslims
So
are
it condones
told. Hold on, man.
slavery.
let us look a bit more at
It
this.
condones slavery.
Let us look at this.
This is what I'm saying. You're telling me to shut up earlier. See what he does. Okay, so Muslims are told from Hadiths and Quran.
Oh, now you want to use Hadith. Earlier he didn't like Hadith. Yeah, go on.
So anyway, by Hadiths and Qurans, which are teachings, all right? So let me change my wording. Muslims are taught by teaching that if you have a slave and the slave requests.
Okay, no, you see, he's talking to Siri. Go on.
All right. So Muslims are told if you do have a slave and the slave requests to be free, you free him.
Which surah, which hadith?
I'm gonna show you.
Exactly.
I'm gonna show you the scripture now. But no, I said it first. You know why?
Where's your verse?
Hold on. Can I finish talking?
Where is your verse?
Did
Show
I
me
not-
the passage.
Did I not just say I'm gonna get the passage?
Right, go find the passage.
Okay. So I'm gonna carry on talking first.
Oh, you're gonna
The only reason I finished talking is because it's people like him that says we believe in keeping slaves and not freeing them, but we don't. We don't get taught that. So we don't get taught to not free people. So please, do you believe that Muslims don't get taught not to free slaves?
This is your
No,
statement
I
now.
believe Muslims are told to free Muslim slaves.
Muslim slaves?
Yes.
What about non-Muslim slaves?
There are certain circumstances in which a non-Muslim slave can also be free. But
So you
Islam
agree that we
legitimizes slavery.
Hold on. Do you agree that we free slaves?
You can free slaves.
So,
do you agree that Islam in Sharia institutes and governs the practice of slavery?
No. To be honest, my own opinion and my knowledge, I can't give you the answer.
Okay.
So I will research it.
Yeah.
I don't want to argue with you. I don't want you to raise your voice. Hold on, hold on, lower your voice. I'm not shouting at you. I'm not having an argument with you. We're having a discussion. So I want to ask you.
No,
hold
one
on,
second.
You can't talk over
No,
me.
no,
I haven't
no,
finished.
no.
A
1
few
second.
minutes ago. You can't see what. I'll give you a 1 second. I'm not
1
finished.
second.
I'm not finished.
Yeah, 1 second.
I'm not finished. Can you
No,
respect
no,
that?
you were speaking to me a moment ago.
Yes, so I'm not finished.
And you made a point, and I
Your
am addressing
question
the
was.
point.
Your question was.
Ask this brother.
Hold on, you
if
can't turn away.
Sharia
I'm still
law
talking.
governs the practice of keeping slaves.
And I just said, ask the brother. You can ask me yourself like you did.
Is
Maybe he
it
knows.
permissible in the Sharia to
I'm
have
going to
slaves?
research it and tell you, just like you have told us.
Answer the question.
So, and you were
Did I not just say that I don't know and I'm going to research it?
He was an expert a moment ago.
I wasn't an
Could you
expert.
please
But
stop
now he's
saying
not.
No, I wasn't
Sharia
an
law? It is a ridiculous statement. You're literally saying law, because that's what Sharia means.
Okay.
That's just my shit. That's it. That's my
No, that's
thing.
fine, that's fine. So,
I hate it when people
if
do
you
that.
go back 5 minutes in your tape, he said, with his own mouth, can you show me something that says that Islam doesn't free slaves? And a minute ago, he just agreed that
Can you
Muslims
take
and
your cigarette
Islam.
away from my Bible,
sorry.
please?
So a minute ago, he just agreed that Muslims do free slaves and are taught to free slaves. So why are you contradicting yourself?
Do you notice
That's
something?
the question.
Can I reply now?
Yeah, why are you contradicting yourself is the question.
So I'm not contradicting myself.
How
And
not?
the reason why I'm not contradicting myself is because despite the brother saying that he's not an expert, he gave the game away. Did you hear what he said?
Yeah.
He said in Islamic teaching, we are told to set slaves free,
Yeah.
which means
We accept
that
that we have
Islam
slaves.
does. We accept that we have slaves, which means that
Okay.
Islam,
Okay, hold on.
which
Hold on.
means
Hold
that.
on.
Notice they're interrupting. Notice they're interrupting.
One second.
Notice
You have
they're
to
interrupting.
understand
No,
One
I'm
second.
going to speak.
One second.
No,
One second.
I'm going to speak.
Let him finish.
Notice,
Let's have a
they
discussion.
always demand that you are quiet when they speak.
No, I said let you
But
finish.
when you
I keep
speak,
saying let you finish,
notice
man.
the interruption.
Finish, let him finish.
Notice the interruption. Notice the interruption.
In order to have
Notice
a proper,
the interruption.
In order to have a proper
Notice the
argument,
interruption.
you have to give
Notice
someone
the interruption.
Let him finish. You finish.
Are you done?
Bob, you finish.
Are you done?
We done.
Are you done?
We done.
Are you
I'm
done?
asking for you to finish.
Are you done?
We're done.
Good. Thank you. So,
And lower your voice.
notice the interruption. Ladies and gentlemen, would you actually like me to speak and give my answer?
Yes.
Okay. So, the brother gave the game away. Whilst on one hand saying he wasn't an expert, he made two comments. One, that we accept that we can have slaves, and two, Sharia law governs the releasing of slaves. Which means, to the question that I asked him, which is, does Sharia govern the keeping of slaves? The answer, notice the interruption. Notice the interruption. So in answer to the question, does Islam govern the keeping of slaves? The answer is yes. Now, because, notice the interruption. Notice the interruption. Now, because Islam is an eternal law, that means that that law is applicable in the 7th century and the 21st century, which means that Sharia law would and does govern slavery today, not yesterday, not in the time of Muhammad, but right now. By contrast, the Bible commands slaves to pursue their freedom whenever they can. So I challenge Muslim sympathizer, Muslim and Muslim, bring forth your evidence that your sources say the same to slaves.
Why doesn't the Bible command slave owners to free their slaves?
Here we go.
Answer the question.
Are you going to answer my question?
Answer my question.
Why
Why doesn't it command them?
Give a charity, man. You're a Christian. You're a good Christian.
Okay.
Give a
So let me address this brother's point. Please notice, however, that all of them declined to answer my question. They wasn't even listening. He wasn't even listening.
I'll answer your question.
He wasn't even
I'll
listening.
answer your question first and then
So,
answer my question.
he's going to answer my question first. But let's hope this Muslim sympathizer will now address the question being asked. Show me in the Quran and Hadiths where it commands slaves to pursue their freedom if they can, like the apostle instructs the slaves who are Christian.
Okay, I have a question.
That's the question.
I can't do that.
He can't do it.
Okay, show me in the Bible.
So-
Why doesn't it say in the Bible and command slave owners to free their slaves and forbid slavery? Why doesn't it say that in the Bible? If it doesn't say that, then the Bible condones slavery.
Let me
And that's
highlight
why the slave
let me
market
highlight let me
400
highlight a
years.
point. Let me highlight a point, okay? Jesus, peace be upon him, he come before the Prophet Muhammad 600 years. When Muhammad come to the Arabia, he found Christian and the Jews have a slave. For 600 years, the Jews and the Christian didn't free the slave. So Muhammad come, he was solving the problem of the Arabs. He said, free your slave. That's
So,
what it is.
Can I address this point?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so the brother is making the argument that Christians were not freeing slaves.
No, it's not.
He doesn't know church history.
Yes.
He doesn't know about the saints.
45 African Americans.
Notice their
45
interruption.
million African Americans.
Ask
Yes.
questions, but not listen to
I answered
answers.
your question.
Notice.
Answer my question.
Do you
Answer
notice
my
the
question.
heckling?
Answer the
Answer my
question.
Notice the heckling.
Answer my question.
Every
Answer the
time
question.
I try to
Answer the
speak,
question.
I have to
Answer the
fight
question.
for my right to speak.
Answer the question. I answered your question.
So,
Answer my
Your
question.
taxi is here, by the way.
So,
Answer the question.
there's 1 point to answer and one
You
question.
said you'd answer my question first. I answered
So
your
I'll
question.
answer the question
Thank you.
first,
Answer the
and
question.
then I will address
Thank you.
the
That's
point.
what you said you'd do.
So, in the book of Philemon, let us just go into a bit of the history around the book of Philemon. Philemon was talking about, it is a letter written to a slave owner who was a Christian, who had a slave who was a Christian. And the slave ran away to Paul. Paul could not look after him, could not care for him, and could not sustain him. The slave could not sustain himself. And so the best thing that Paul could do was to send him back to the Christian slave owner.
He sold them back, yes.
With a letter, the letter of Philemon, in which it states, and I quote, "For perhaps he was for this reason separated from you a while, that you would have him back forever, no longer as a slave." Did you all hear those words? This is Paul speaking. He's sending Philemon back. He's sending the slave back to Philemon.
He's sending him back.
Listen.
He's sending him back, yes.
Listen.
He's sending him back, yes.
Send him back
Listen.
to his
They
master.
don't want to listen.
And ask him.
They don't want to
This one
listen.
slave. This one slave.
That you would have him back forever.
Yeah.
No longer as a slave.
How much? How much?
But more than a slave, as a beloved brother. Do you mistreat your beloved brother?
No. Okay. Show me the verse.
I pity your brother.
Show me the verse where it
I pity your
commands,
brother.
where God commands you
So,
to free your slaves.
now let me address this guy's point.
It doesn't exist.
Now
It's
let
in
me
the Bible,
address
it doesn't
this guy's
exist.
point.
It doesn't exist.
Now let me
There's
address
no
this
such
guy's
verse.
point.
Because
Listen.
you concede.
Listen.
Concede.
Listen.
Concede.
They don't want to listen.
Concede. You're
Because they are only interested in their own echo
You're interested
chamber.
in the truth. You can't handle the truth.
Saint John Chrysostom,
Was he?
an early church father, instructed the early church. Listen to these commands.
The Bible. Take from the Bible.
To buy slaves, to teach them a trade, and to set them free.
In America, set them free in
That
America.
was
Why
Saint
doesn't it
John
say in the Bible?
Chrysostom,
You're such a
and he
bullshit.
was
What are you
writing
talking about, man?
Doesn't say that in the
before
Bible.
Muhammad was ever born.
But it doesn't say in the Bible.
Saint
We
Augustine
don't have cotton
of
farms.
Hippo
We don't have cotton farms.
says that slavery is an expression of sin.
We didn't kidnap 180
Early
million
saints
Africans from Africa.
of the church
Rubbish.
would literally sell themselves into slavery, use the money to buy slaves freedom. It became a good work practiced in the early church as instructed by the church fathers to set slaves free.
It doesn't say that in the Bible.
And this was all before Muhammad.
But it doesn't say that in the
Finally,
Bible.
I have a question.
my last point. My last point. After all of this evidence,
What evidence? What evidence,
It
man?
doesn't say in the Bible. Concede you're wrong.
after this, my
The
last
Bible
point.
condemns slavery.
If we look at Saudi Arabia, a society dominated by Islam for 1400 years,
Saudi Arabia is only 200 years, man.
they only,
1932,
I
Saudi Arabia
said
was
the
established.
society, not the state. They were not listening.
Okay,
They were not listening.
I have a question.
You said Saudi
After
Arabia,
1400 years of Islam dominating Saudi Arabian society, slavery was only banned in Saudi Arabia in the 1900s.
What's the point?
Which means that Muslims failed to see this great
We
emancipator,
don't have cotton
Imam
farms, man.
Muhammad, for
We
what he
don't have
was.
cotton farms.
They thought that slavery was fine.
Because maybe
And
they read
why?
the Bible. Maybe they read the
Because
Bible and
they were
said it was
following
okay.
Muhammad.
Maybe because Abraham kept
We
slaves.
can't have slaves. We don't have cotton
No,
farms.
here's
We have
my
cotton
question
farms.
to you
You've
guys.
made your point. I have a question now.
Here's my question to
It's my
you
turn
guys.
to ask
Oh,
questions.
notice I don't get to ask any questions. Go on, your
I've
question.
made your point, yeah. Now tell me this. In Christianity, you just said that
What do you believe in?
I'm agnostic.
slaves.
But he's got a heavy disagreement with Christianity, so he sides with the Muslims.
No, he doesn't side with the Muslims. He has his own opinion, man. Come on. Don't be like that.
What does Christianity command slaves to do?
It commands them to pursue their freedom wherever they
Okay,
can.
while in Islam doesn't command slaves to do that because it's already forbidden to have slaves. You get that? So it's already forbidden.
Abraham had slaves.
So
Abraham had slaves.
it's
And
not.
it's in the Bible, it's in the Quran. And all the Abrahamic religions they all support slavery. And you can't say that it doesn't, and you can't hold up Quran and say it doesn't, because they all do.
In Islam, it forbids slavery.
No, it doesn't.
No, it doesn't.
Yes,
and
it
neither
does.
does the Bible.
No, it doesn't.
I'm the living proof. I'm the living proof.
Are you a slave that was set free?
Did Abraham have slaves? Did Abraham have slaves?
But how come the Bible didn't work with the Americans, North America, man?
I'm a Muslim. Do you see me as a slave? Do you see me as a slave? Yes or no?
No.
Then I'm a living proof that Islam and me for saying it that Islam forbids
Go
slavery.
and look up the Janissaries and the
Islam
Mamelukes.
forbids slavery.
Go and look up the Janissaries and the Mamelukes.
This is it. This is it.
So,
This is it.
the brother asked the question,
You can't just ignore.
where does the Christian faith
You can't just
condemn the slave trade? Listen carefully, this is for agnostic, sympathetic to Muslims, got a problem with Christians. Are you listening carefully? Are you listening?
Excuse me, we don't have a problem with Christians.
Paul,
Can
you not interrupt? Can you not interrupt? Can you not
Can you tell your
interrupt?
monkeys
Can you
to
not
be quiet?
interrupt? No, I'm going to speak.
One thing
I'm
you
going to
said.
speak to him. No,
One thing you
no,
said.
listen.
One thing you said.
Paul, writing in his letter to Timothy, lists those who stand outside of the faith. Listen,
He killed a lot of Christians.
listen.
Paul.
This is the list that he gives. Condemned. But we know that the Lord is good if one uses it lawfully, realizing the fact that law is not made for a righteous person, but for those who are lawless and rebellious, for the ungodly and sinners, for the unholy and the profane, for those who kill their fathers or mothers, for murderers, for immoral men, and homosexuals, and kidnappers. The word kidnappers that is translated here is referring to those who take slaves.
Rubbish.
That is what it is referring to.
You're looking for something else.
Those who kidnap and take slaves, and liars, and perjurers, and whatever else is contrary to sound teaching.
Did Abraham have slaves?
So Paul
Did Abraham have slaves?
instructs,
Did he have
listen
slaves?
carefully,
Did Abraham have slaves?
because you are an ignorant man,
Did
listen
Abraham
carefully.
have slaves?
Listen carefully.
I am ignorant.
You are an ignorant
So
man.
did Abraham have slaves? You
So,
tell me, wise one.
listen.
Old wise one, tell
Listen.
me. Did Abraham have
Listen.
slaves?
Listen.
Did Abraham have
Listen.
slaves? Answer the question.
Listen.
I'm listening.
Paul commands slaves to pursue their freedom.
But not the slave
Paul
owners.
commands
Not the
slave
slave
owners to treat their slaves not as slaves, but as brothers.
Why didn't he command
Paul
to free them?
condemns those who kidnap people and take them as slaves.
Did Abraham have
I
slaves?
challenge
Did Abraham have
the
slaves?
Dawah team to show me in the Quran verses equivalent
from a
to
heckling
this.
team.
Did Abraham have slaves?
In answer to the
Did
question,
Abraham have slaves?
yes he did.
Okay.
Do we have to follow Abraham? Ignorant one. He doesn't want to. And this, ladies and gentlemen, this is the kind of ignorance that we have to deal with at the park.
No, you're right. Thank you for
This
teaching me
is
that.
this is a kind of
Abraham
ignorance.
had slaves, and the Bible
Do Christians
condones-
follow Abraham or Jesus?
Was it in the Bible?
Answer the
In
question.
Bible. They follow Jesus. What
Thank
did
you.
Jesus say about it?
Did Jesus
What
have
did
any
Jesus-
slaves?
What did Jesus say
Answer
about
the
slavery?
question.
What did Jesus
I've
say
answered
about
multiple
slavery?
questions of yours. Answer mine. Did Jesus have any slaves?
I don't know because he didn't say anything about slavery.
Did he have any
You
slaves?
tell me what he said about
There
slavery.
is no evidence at all
Did Jesus
that
say-
Jesus had
Did
any
Jesus
slaves.
command that all slaves are free?
And who is my example?
He's not written
My example is my Lord, my Saviour, my God, my King, and
So
my
why didn't
friend,
Jesus say
Jesus
that
Christ,
Abraham was wrong? Why didn't
who
Jesus
had
say-
no slaves.
Not for me.
But now let me ask you this question, oh sympathiser with the Dawah
Oh
team.
no, I'm the ignorant one.
Yeah, you are the ignorant one.
Yeah, that's right. You insult me.
Did Muhammad have slaves?
Huh? I don't know.
Go and look
Probably.
into it.
Same as Abraham.
Go
probably
and look
did.
into it.
Probably he did, same as Abraham. I can't say for certain.
Do you think
'cause
keeping
I'm
slaves
ignorant,
is
I
a good
don't know.
example?
Well, like Abraham then.
We don't follow Abraham. Do you
follow
think?
Jesus. What did Jesus say about slavery?
Answer my question. Is keeping slaves a good example?
No, I don't believe in slavery, of course not.
Right. So,
Go and look into whether Jesus had slave, whether Muhammad had slave,
What did he
and
say?
ask yourself.
What did Jesus say about
Ask
slavery?
yourself.
What did he say about slavery?
Ask yourself.
What did Jesus say about
Which
slavery?
is the best slave?
What did Jesus say about slavery? Did Jesus say free the slaves? Did Jesus command people to free slaves?
He said,
Did he say that? Where did he say it?
This is the father of hecklings. We learn heckling
Did
from
Jesus
him.
say anything about freeing slaves? Anything at all?
2-6 in the park, 2-6 in the park, done no fam. I managed to convert one guy fam. Yeah.
Did his silence mean that he condoned slavery?
So,
he must have known that the slave trade
what
was
he
gonna
said.
happen, right?
So if Jesus didn't talk
What about the
slavery, there's
caliphate?
something missing there.
What about the Ottoman Caliphate? What about the Andalusian Caliphate? What about the Mohammedan Caliphate? What about the Umayyadan Caliphate? What about the Caliphate of ISIS? All of these caliphates had slaves.
Hang on a minute. What didn't Jesus say
All of them.
about slavery?
Every single one. And yet, what we have are a group of people trying to legitimize as an example compared to Christ those that had slaves. I also said the Andalusian Caliphate, the Ottoman Caliphate, the Umayyad Caliphate, and the Mohammedan Caliphate. They all had slaves. You're saying I'm wrong. You're saying Muhammad didn't have slaves.
Okay, when
Muhammad did not have
didn't
slaves.
answer my question.
Oh dear.
When Muhammad come to the Arabia, the Christian and the Jews have slaves.
Did Muhammad have slaves? Yes or no?
They have servants or slaves.
Did he have slaves?
No, it's not certain.
So he didn't have slaves. I refer to this brother, and I refer all those who think like this brother to go and check Sahih al-Bukhari 71:42 and 31:38, in which Muhammad clearly addresses a black slave. He calls him the worst possible leader. He says that he will be in hell. Muhammad had black slaves. He called him a ship. Why did he call him a ship? Because his shoulders were so broad, he could carry so much for Muhammad that he called him a ship. How ironic that the nation of Islam
Don't misinterpret Bukhari. Don't.
Because their ancestors were carried on ships when Muhammad referred to a black slave as a ship.
What colour
That is what he says. My
colour
sources.
was he?
He says
What race was
I
he
am
from?
lying. You will see in the comment section I am not. Read Sahih al-Bukhari 72,
Did Muhammad-
63,
did Muhammad
Sahih
have slaves?
al-Bukhari
1 second, we heard you.
61,
We heard you.
61,
We heard you. We heard
Sahih
you.
al-Bukhari
We heard you.
71, 42, 30, Sahih al-Bukhari 31, 38.
Did Muhammad
They
free
say I'm making it up.
Did Muhammad free the slave?
All of these
Did
hadiths
Muhammad free the
are
slave?
called
He did.
Sahih.
Bilal.
He sold slaves.
Bilal.
He traded
Bilal.
slaves.
Bilal, he was tortured by the
He
Arab
sold 2 black slaves for 1 Arab slave. Go and read your hadith. You're lying to people. I greet you all in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ. I'm afraid I gotta go.
So why you convert to Islam then? Who was a slave?
There were Muslims who
Why he
converted.
converted to Islam? Did you know why?
There were Muslims
Why he
who
converted?
converted to
First Adhan
Christianity
was Islam, was made
in
by
the
Bilal.
1st century of Islam.
Mecca, and he was shouting, Allahu Akbar.
Amongst the immigrants who went to Ethiopia.
This man's saying
I can't remember
that
his
the
name.
Quran says the
Go and
slave
look it
should
up.
be
Do a
free.
bit of
The
research.
Quran
Go
says
and do a
the
bit of
slave should
research.
be free.
Go and do a bit of research.
The Quran says that. He says the Quran says the slave should be free.
Show me the verse. Where's the verse? Oh, so when I don't show them the verse, they say, oh, this is just your opinion. But when they don't show the verse, I have to accept their opinion. This is the double standard of the Dawah team. Ladies and gentlemen, we can do better than Islam. We can do better than Sharia law.
It was Britain that ended slavery around the globe. Did more than any other country in the world to end slavery.
Slavery was ended even before William Wilberforce. Know your history. As early as
around the world, the British Empire did more to end slavery
absolutely
than anyone else.
by the influence of Christians like William Wilberforce.
The biggest traders in slavery was Christian and Jewish. The biggest traders in slavery.
Who put them under pressure? Who put them under pressure? And what group are they in? What group? Sorry, say it. What group? What? Thank you. Thank you. And who was William Wilberforce?
It was because of the Bible
William
verses.
Wilberforce was not a Quaker.
It was because of the Bible verses that
William
condoned
Wilberforce was
slavery.
not a Quaker.
It was because of the Bible verses that
William
condoned
Wilberforce,
slavery.
know
And it
your
went on for
history.
so long.
He says William Wilberforce was a Quaker.
If
I'm
Jesus
going to
said-
correct him.
Listen, if Jesus
William
said
Wilberforce
that
was
slavery
part
was
of the
outlawed,
Clapham sect, and that was an Anglican movement.
If the Bible
They were called the
outrightly-
Clapham sect because they would meet in Clapham and because they emphasised the incarnation
If
over
the
the
Bible
crucifixion.
outrightly
Learn
outlawed,
your history.
Listen, if the Bible
You didn't know
outrightly, you're not
anything of what
listening
I've
to
told
me.
you.
You're not listening to me.
I've
If
heard
the
your
Bible
rhetoric. I've heard it for
outrightly
an hour.
banned the keeping of slaves, then the slave trade may not have happened. But it
Christians were
doesn't.
fighting
But
against
it
the
didn't
slave
happen.
trade as early as
But
the
it didn't
church
happen.
fathers.
But the Bible is
You are
slave
trade was happening
ignorant
everywhere.
man.
But the Bible didn't
Go and
condemn
read what
slavery.
St. John
Condoned
Chrysostom
trade was
said.
happening
Condoned
everywhere.
it.
That would
And
be
they
my,
took the verses
Yeah,
from the
but
Bible
the brother,
to say that
the
it
brother
was
is
okay.
simply the
They
brother's
used
got
the
an issue with
Bible
Christians, and
said
he's got
we
an
can't
issue with
keep slaves
Christianity.
because it's what it
So
says
he
in
just
the
wants to
Bible.
attack Christianity.
I'm not attacking
And what he
Christianity.
doesn't know,
I'm attacking the
what he
Quran
doesn't
as well,
know,
because the Quran
what he doesn't know
supports
is that as early as
Okay, here we are.
the
Okay, now listen,
3rd
you wanted a
century,
verse.
St. John
You wanted an answer to
Chrysostom,
your question. Here's
St.
the
John, I'm
answer.
speaking to him now.
Listen, he
As
doesn't
early
wanna
as the
hear
3rd
answer.
century,
He
St.
doesn't
John
wanna hear it.
Chrysostom, St. John Chrysostom,
Shut
St. John
Listen to the
Chrysostom,
answer.
so I'll speak to you guys.
No,
St. John Chrysostom commands,
He doesn't
buy
wanna hear it, I
slaves,
wanna hear it.
teach them a trade, set them free.
Yeah.
Christians were setting slaves free by their thousands as before the Roman Empire converted to the Christian faith.
Right.
When the Christian faith became the dominant religion in the Roman Empire, by the 5th century, the slave trade had collapsed within the Roman Empire and existed only in pockets. By the 5th century, that's 2 centuries before Muhammad.
Yeah.
These guys don't know the history of the church.
From what I'm aware,
They don't know.
I mean,
They're ignorant
if
people.
we look at the story of Exodus
Where
as
it
well.
tells Muslims, where it tells slaves to pursue their freedoms.
No, not to tell slaves to pursue their freedom. They need to tell the slave owners to free their slaves.
It's Surah Al-Balad.
Yeah,
Surah Al-Balad.
Okay, go on.
And it
What
says
difference does
it
it make
goes,
if you tell a slave to pursue their freedom?
Allah was swearing that
You're going to have to
لقد
cut to the
خلقنا-
main point because I've got to go.
Okay. He said, فَلَا اقْتَحَمَ عَقَبَةً وَمَا أَدْرَكَ مَا الْعَقَبَةُ فَكُّ رَقَبَةٍ. That is a freeing slave.
All right, okay, right. So, hold on. His argument is.
Commanding the Muslim to free the slave.
Hold on, 1 second.
Because when Muhammad
He wants
came
to
the
listen to
Arabia,
what he wants
he
to
found
listen
the
to.
truth.
So I will listen. I'll speak here, okay? Because he didn't want to listen to a reply.
I listen to that.
What?
That's
What?
evidence.
Let's be clear about what evidence. Yeah, you don't want to listen, bro, and everyone can see it. Everyone can see you don't really want to listen. You are an ignorant man, but you're a full cup.
Insult me.
So you
Do you
are.
want to hit me
You
on
are.
the cheek as well?
You are. So let me. Can I speak?
Yeah, I'm listening to
Right.
you.
So let's just be clear about what that verse means. Yeah. Like what I already said much earlier in this conversation, if this man had bothered to listen, which he didn't, was that I know in Sharia law it instructs the freeing of slaves.
Just listen to the Quran.
My criticism. Firstly, no Muslim would argue that Islam is based just on the Quran. They would say that it's the Quran and the Hadiths. And in the use of the Quran and the Hadiths, it governs the keeping, the buying, the capturing, the using, the treatment, and the freeing of slaves. If that is an eternal law for all mankind in all places and in all times, that means that it is instituted within Sharia law to capture, to free, to buy, to sell, and to treat slaves. By contrast, if you had bothered to listen to anything I had said, the Christians had almost caused the slave trade to collapse in the Roman Empire by the 5th century. 2 centuries before
What about the
Islam.
transatlantic slave trade?
You see, he never wants to deal with the evidence. He just wants to move on to the next criticism. This is why this brother is a full cup. Because he doesn't want to engage with the evidence.
I am. The transatlantic slave trade is evidence that what you're talking about is nonsense. You're talking about the Romans banning slavery, and then you've got the transatlantic slave trade went for 400
Christians
years.
were banning the slave trade in the 8th century, the 9th century,
happened to the
the
transatlantic
10th
slave trade?
century.
How did that happen?
Notice he doesn't want to listen.
I am listening.
He doesn't want to listen.
You're not listening.
He is a full cup. Christians were banning.
Full cup and I'm
You are, bro.
Does Jesus tell
You
you to
are.
insult people?
Christ himself said. Christ himself said,
what?
listen, full cup, listen. Christ himself said, oh, you Pharisees and Sadducees, you are like whitewashed tombs. You are nice and bright on the outside, but on the inside you are dead bones. He called them vipers. Christ was not afraid to call people what they are.
Why would I deserve to be insulted?
You,
why do I deserve to be
because
insulted?
you have stood here.
I'm looking for
you
the
have,
truth.
You're not, bro.
I am looking
You're
for
not,
the
bro.
truth.
Because
I'm asking you what it says in the Bible.
And I've shown you.
Yeah, you showed
And
me
then
that
you
it
didn't
doesn't.
listen.
You showed me that it doesn't say in the Bible to command that slavery be ended. It doesn't say that.
It
didn't
says
say
to slaves,
it says to
pursue
slaves.
your
Well, that's
freedom.
pointless. That's
To pursue
pointless.
your freedom.
Why didn't it tell slave owners to free your slaves and ban
It
slavery?
condemns slave capturing.
You're
It
telling me the
can
Quran
list-
says that.
Are you listening? It lists amongst those who will go to hell those who capture slaves. Did you hear that? No. Why? Because you are a full
You're
cup
telling me-
and
you're
you
telling me
don't
that the
want
Bible
to
condemns
listen.
slave owners
I
to
will
hell.
say it to you
No,
again.
show me the Bible verse that
I
says
will
that.
say it to you again.
Show me the Bible
I
verse
will
that
say
says
it
that.
to you again.
I want to know.
I will say it to you again.
Show me the
I will
Bible
say
verse.
it to you again.
Brother,
I will say it to you again.
To North America,
Do you want to listen to me or to him?
I want the Bible verse.
Right,
Jesus
I
Christ.
gave it to you, but you were too busy
No, I wanna
shouting
know.
like an ignorant
Okay, tell me what
man
it is now.
to hear me.
What's the Bible verse?
And you are a full cup because you're not listening now.
I want to know
Are
the
you
Bible
listening
verse
now?
so I can no longer be ignorant.
Are you listening now?
Yes, tell me what it is, the
Okay,
Bible verse.
the scriptures that I gave you earlier, which you will now have to watch on Soko Films to listen.
I want to know the
Are you
Bible verse. Tell
not
me it's
listening?
like-
Not
I
listening.
just want to know the Bible
Are
verse.
you listening?
Tell me
Are
the
you
Bible
listening?
verse. Give me
Okay,
the Bible
he
verse,
doesn't
mate.
want to listen, so I'll say it
because
to you
don't
guys.
have the Bible verse because it doesn't exist.
I gave a verse, and you can all listen to it on Soko Films. I gave the
No,
reference.
You can tell. Don't
It
you
was.
know the Bible verse?
It was in Timothy. Hint. It
So
was
in
in Timothy.
Timothy,
Yes.
so you can't tell me the
Are you
exact
listening?
verse.
Listen.
Where does it say in
right?
the Bible
No.
that slave
Are
owners
you
will be
listening?
condemned to hell?
It says
I want
that.
to know where it says that.
No, listen, bro.
No, it doesn't say
I'm
it.
going
So
to
keep your
speak
Bible
to
in
you.
your
You
bag.
guys want to hear what I have to
Keep
say?
your Bible in the bag.
Right.
It doesn't say
Right.
that.
So this, I'm not going to talk over this guy anymore. He doesn't want to listen.
He doesn't want to give me the
In
Bible
the
verse.
scriptures, content over everything. In the
Can you find it where
scriptures,
it says
Soko Films.
It
In
condemns
the
slave owners
scriptures,
to
guys.
hell.
They're trying to listen to me. Stop being rude.
I want the Bible
You're an
verse.
ignorant man. These people
Okay,
want to listen
you're
to me.
supposed
Stop
to be
being
a
rude.
preacher of the truth
So,
of the Bible, but you can't give me a Bible
in the
verse.
I did. You weren't listening.
You can't give it to me again.
You weren't listening. I'm
Is
not
it a
going
secret?
to give it to
Is
you
it a
again.
secret?
Right. So in the scriptures, it lists amongst those who are going to hell, it lists a whole bunch, and it lists kidnappers as those going to hell.
kidnappers.
The word
slave owners,
in the Greek
kidnappers.
is used in other ancient documents
So it
to
doesn't say
refer to those who kidnap
So it's your
people for the purpose of slavery.
So it's your interpretation.
So,
It doesn't say
as I
slave
said,
owners.
the
It
brother
doesn't
is
say
an
slave
ignorant
owners.
man.
Okay.
He doesn't
Well,
want
take
to
your insults.
listen,
Fine, you think
and
that.
he doesn't want to deal with
I
the
want
evidence.
to know what it says in the
I
Bible.
have to go.
Yeah.
Good night.
See you later.
God
go
bless.
with your misinterpretation of the Bible and of the Quran.
People
and
can
may God bless
decide
you.
for themselves.
And you should
God
read
bless.
the Bible in its original translation because it doesn't say what you're talking about. He's a liar, he's a deceiver. And that should be known.
What's going on? Live stream, yeah. What's been going on today? I only came here like half an hour ago. Nothing's going on. Always got to do that. Someone probably calling me a terrorist online. Yeah, that's calm, innit?
Listen, what you on today though? What you on today?
Today, I don't know. I just came to see what's going on. I didn't really have anything to do. Sunday's like the one day I got nothing to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm gonna take a look around the parks. See who's here, cause man, I ain't strolled around the park since I've been here.
Who's called me Taylor?
Are you telling me?
It's funny, yeah. Most of the people that are obsessed with IQ levels have probably never taken an IQ test. That's the funny thing. And you should do it. It's good.
You got one, yeah?
Yeah.
Where you at? Where you at?
Mine's actually alright. It's above average, slightly above average.
Where is it? Say where it is.
I'm not gonna say what it is. That's too like personal information, isn't it?
In between. What's it in between? Nothing.
Do you want my bank details as well?
Nah.
Would you like sort code and expiration date on my card as well?
I don't mind actually. If you want to give it to
Nah.
me. I don't mind anyway.
Nah, that's for me to know.
See that. See what I'm going over here.
What about
some
with the
few in the
blonde
building.
carpet there? Which carpet? Newton Green.
We live stream, we live.
Ah!
What we doing? Where's the boss?
The boss is on the way.
Hello.
Where is he?
I'm thinking that he's most probably still fingering a pigeon somewhere.
Oh, and to respect, you're a prick as well.
Oh.
He came on the live disrespectful.
Shots fired!
I respect, you need to forward, I'm trying to remain impartial. It's hard.
With his weak fucking
Remember,
lyrics.
compulsion.
No.
That's Dansky. Hey man, I said it's shots, It's hot over here.
I was on Ty's channel with your weak fucking rhymes.
Hey, that's Dansky. Hey, Russ will come down, and put fire on everyone, man. He'll come down and put fire on everyone.
I was trolling the shit out of him.
What's the plan for today, though? What's the plan for today?
The plan is we're going to get Raj down here and we're going for world domination.
Oh, okay.
But this time we're planning to fail because last time we were trying to succeed.
What?
I said we're planning world domination.
Yeah, I got the how.
Well, we're going to do it different because last time we planned to succeed and we failed miserably, so this time we're planning to fail so we can succeed.
That's how it normally goes. That's how it goes.
You say what happened with Raspek on the live stream?
He was so disrespectful. If you lot see it, he constantly referred to me as Simon for some reason and thought it was hilarious. And then the slut, Saida, the inbred slut, came on. He calls her his secretary, which is disgusting. She's supposed to be a Muslim woman.
Yeah.
Go and wear a burqa for Said, you prick.
Shit.
Sorry?
She had an organ Fatima or something like that, or double night, something like that, on a live stream.
I don't know.
If it's dead, it should be on that.
England was
never an Islamic empire.
I want to come back when Raj comes in and see what I'm going. Right, peace. Mad thing. Hey, Rash, shots fired. Shots fired, you want it, code red. Yeah, that man, sir. That is man, sir, still. Well gone, man, sir. Well gone. Let's have a quick look around. Let's go do something quickly. Shots fired.
I recorded you last time, but I thought my mic was terrible. It was 2 weeks ago.
It was about 2-3 weeks ago when, again, you were wearing the sign.
Yeah. Actually, it's because we were in Birmingham 2 weeks ago doing a circumcision protest when the Conservative Party was there, and then it was 2 weeks before that, so it's about 4 weeks ago, a month ago.
Yeah, it must have been, yeah, because this will be my 5th time here, so that would be...
well, no, because
and you were talking about a lady that's one of your speakers, and she couldn't arrive at the time.
Oh, yeah, Nettie, she's very
because
good.
there was this extremely angry,
that silly lady.
feminist lady.
Yeah, and then they always run off. But she didn't swear or anything like that, and she starting to get a bit hot under the hat. But no, they used to.
I got it.
Electric fences. You can do it very, very light, with a very light touch on practically any.
Yeah, I was asking in relation to how would that help?
It would mean that you are using less land to produce. If you're producing 6 times as much food in the same unit of land, you're producing less land.
they stick with liberal values?
You're sequestering carbon into the soil and biomass.
Keeping your country alive?
It tends to be a more, it's a closed circuit of using water to irrigate. So there's less irrigation than would be required. If you had 6 times as much land, you would need to irrigate less irrigation.
That's Marxism. That's a Marxist corruption of what liberalism. Because they hijack the term liberal to use themselves. Because everyone thought, oh, liberal just means live and let live, being an easygoing person.
I think there is a problem though. The problem is that you can't have complete freedom. You need some.
Classical liberalism doesn't
you need
talk about
promotion of obligations.
Yeah, classical liberalism is not about anarchy. It's
Right.
It's about a balance in the powers. The fact that, for example, it comes back to the spirit of the Magna Carta. There might be a king, there may be a government, but they don't have absolute control of the people.
Yeah.
The individual, is sovereign. That is the fundamental
What's the
value.
ones and twos move around?
Mutiny, and then we had more problems than we had before. And there is always that sort of thing. If they were doing something which were very obvious and very repulsive, then
Can I? He said follow me, isn't it? No, you said because he said follow me, he's divine.
I didn't say no, I didn't say I said to you, he's equating himself.
Okay, did he say follow me?
Yes.
Okay,
So what is
if I was in the time of Abraham, if I follow Abraham, was I following God?
If you're following God, of course you are.
If I followed Moses, if I followed Jacob, and if I followed Jesus, of course I would have been. No, but when you bring Jesus into divinity, that's where the problem is. And he never claimed to be divine.
All I'm trying to say is establishing a premise that Jesus absorbs authority that's supposed to be given to God alone.
What authority?
No, wasn't.
You did
Sorry.
not finish your
You can go through scripture.
What is your
What
claim?
was the way of getting your sins forgiven?
What is your
What was the
claim?
process?
What was it?
What was the process? It was going to the temple. It was sacrifice. And through that process your sins were atoned for. Now what was on Jesus' lips, how you are forgiven? What was it? What was it? Through believing in him and obedience to him.
Yes.
And who forgave the sins? Him. Now what did he
Jesus.
One second.
Did he say that?
Who forgave sins?
Did he say?
One
But
second.
there are more
Yes?
people.
He said it. Show me.
No,
Show me
there
when
are
he said,
people.
I
He forgave. They didn't forgive sins.
There are
He said,
people
I
in the
forgive
Bible.
So he's forgiven sins.
Yeah.
So when he says your sins are forgiven,
No.
without qualifying.
If you follow me, if I'm a manly,
You said that he says he forgives sins.
Without qualifying your statement, your sins are forgiven. What do I assume in that? Do I assume it's coming from me, or do I make an assumption it's coming from someone else?
I assume it's coming from God. It's coming from God. I know that.
No.
But that's who he's referring to.
he's a representative of God on earth.
That's who he's referring to.
First roll
You
of
understand?
sync on.
You are in charge.
Yeah, man.
See what I do. See what I do.
Jesus says, how is it that
Come on, brother.
yes, brother, bless my wrist.
You're right, hi. You're right.
Hi, how are you, sir?
Now here Allah says that prophet is for the whole man, a mercy for the whole world. So in our Quran Allah says, وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ إِلَّا رَحْمَةً لِلْعَالَمِينَ. In Surah Al-Anbiya, the prophets, Surah chapter number 21, verse number 107. Allah says in English translation, we have not sent you, O Muhammad, but as